paymasters? And how can a bonfire be racist? Well, apparently one was in Northern Ireland last night. It was set fire to with a dinghy on the top and effigies of asylum seekers, and it's caused a huge political bonfire. I'll be joined by an activist who says, what's all the fuss about? It's just a bonfire. You weren't upset when there's a bonfire of Donald Trump, Boris Johnson or Nigel Farage. Let me know what you think. Can a bonfire be racist? What a world we live in. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say is the way to do so. But now's your headlines, and here's Sophia Hill.
Martin, thank you. Very good afternoon. It's just gone 3 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Top story, the Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. Sir Keir Starmer secured the deal in the latest bid to reduce the small boat crossings. The scheme still needs the approval of the European Commission, and French President Macron took direct aim at Brexit yesterday, blaming it for the small boats crisis. The Border Force and the RNLI have been deployed in the English Channel today as small boats have been spotted trying to come to the UK. The first Border Force boat carrying migrants has arrived at Dover and more vessels are out at sea. Yvette Cooper says the migrant crossings the Channel will be detained as part of the new deal with France.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach that looks across the board.
Meanwhile, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp said the deal with France will be no deterrent whatsoever.
I'm afraid this deal is another hopeless gimmick, just like Keir Starmer's pathetic claim a year ago to be smashing the gangs, which has dismally failed because record numbers of illegal immigrants so far this year have crossed the Channel, record ever numbers. This is another gimmick, just like the smash the gangs claim. And the reason for that is that only 50 illegal immigrants per week are going to get sent back to France. And that amounts to only 6% of the illegal arrivals. Now, that means that 94% of illegal arrivals are going to be allowed to stay in the UK.
Private companies are pocketing billions in government deals as researchers try to trace the true cost of securing Britain's borders. One of the biggest contracts was for £1 billion for the provision of maritime security drones. Another private contractor won a £7.7 million tender to provide marquees at migrant processing centres in Kent. Researchers at Open Democracy claim to have identified around £5 billion worth of contracts to provide services aimed at enhancing the UK's border security. The figures add to the cost of the wraparound services for Channel migrants. A National Audit Office report last month put the asylum seeker accommodation bill alone at as high as £15 billion over the last decade. Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says Unite is crystal clear. It will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers fighting huge pay cuts. A Downing Street spokesperson replied, saying that the government's priority throughout the dispute had always been Birmingham's residents. And the government is calling on GPs to sign fewer sick notes and instead steer patients towards gyms and support services in a bid to help more people get back to work. Under the new pilot programme being trialled across 15 locations, GPs will be given money to employ dedicated teams to help people find a job. It comes as the number of NHS sick notes hit 11 million last year, more than double the figure from a decade ago. Health Secretary Wes Streeting says the UK's economy could no longer afford to keep writing people off. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in just under half an hour. But first, let's check in on the markets.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets this afternoon. The pound will buy you $1.350 and €1.155. The price of gold is £2,486.67 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 8,941 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Thank you, Sophia. Now we've got a belter of a show today. Let's get weaving, because first story, Angela Rayner, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, has been sensationally suspended by the Unite union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. And the union has announced it will review also its relationship with the entire Labour Party. Now, Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says this. Unite is crystal clear, will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers, fighting huge pay cuts. Well, let's get the thoughts now of the senior lecturer in inequality and the anarchist, great friend of the show, Dr. Lisa Mackenzie from my part of the world up there in Nottinghamshire. Dr. Mackenzie, does this come as any surprise to you? I mean, it seems to me that the Labour Party are giving in to anybody. They're giving in to their backbenchers. They're giving in to the to any sort of revolt. And is this the union flexing their muscles to try and get the Labour Party also to cave into them, or is it something much bigger? Is this the union's about to walk away from the Labour Party and go hard left?
Gosh, there's so much to unwrap there, Martin. I mean, I'm just going to say I'm currently in Matlock and I'm at the Lido.
Beautiful.
So it's beautiful. But Angela Rayner, I'm going to say it, I'm going to be honest, she's a class traitor. She comes from the working class. She went through the unions. She got her job. She's got her career, which has been, let's be honest, it's been very, you know, she's made quite a bit of money and she's been quite fortuitous in her career. She's gone through the unions, and now what she's doing is she's become a class traitor. The bin men and the bin strike in Birmingham has been outrageous, that people, working class people who are not earning lots of money, have been told that they need to lose £8,000 of their wages. How much, you know, none of us could afford to lose that. So I think what has happened with the unions, they've finally realised that the Labour Party that we've got today are full of middle-class bourgeois leftists and also working-class traitors. So there's no wonder, really, that they've kicked her out. I'm quite glad to see it, actually. I think it's beyond time.
Wow, that's strong words. You've obviously that refreshing dip in the Lido there, Lisa. Has certainly got you on your toes. On a serious point, do you think that they're now then going to rethink their strategy altogether and perhaps put their dosh behind Jeremy Corbyn's new outfit?
I think that's a possibility. A few days ago, I was looking at the Jeremy Corbyn / Zara Sultana new party, and it does look like they are using an address that the Unite Union also used as well. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. And I know that Zara Sultana is very close to the Unite Union, as is Jeremy Corbyn. You know, it's you know, it's one of the biggest unions in the country. So it's unsurprising that the left are part of that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Unite now perhaps look at this new political party and perhaps start throwing their weight behind it. I'm not sure that that would be the right thing for Unite to do, because Unite is made up of millions of members. And I've done some recent research over the last few months, and many trade union members, especially in our part of the world, in Nottinghamshire, who are part of Unite, are also joining Reform and are voting Reform. So I think this is going to be quite a complicated, messy politics. But I say bring it on. It's time that working class politics were spoken about and talked about openly. You know, who are we and what do we need in our country? OK, I think you've hit so many nails on the head there. Loads to unpack. I threw a bunch of stuff at you. You've thrown some fascinating stuff back at me. I think we really are at a kind of crossroads in the Labour Party, Lisa Mackenzie. Always a pleasure to have your company and enjoy. It's a beautiful part of the world there, Matlock Bath. My dad fell off a motorbike in the 1950s on the bridge there, and he stayed on the road. If he'd gone down into the river there, I wouldn't be here today. So it's a lucky place for me. Dr. Lisa Mackenzie, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very much. Care for those bridges. Now then, US President Donald Trump is heading to Texas after catastrophic floods killed at least 121 people there, including, of course, many, many children on a Christian retreat. We've got live pictures now on
our screen. So Donald Trump has touched down in Texas in that US presidential helicopter. He was being greeted by the resident armed forces, the US Marines there. Looks like any moment now. Here we go. Donald Trump stepping out of that presidential chopper. This will be his party ahead of him. President here, of course, to pay respects, to help with the cleanup operation of what was a hugely dramatic and catastrophic flood that ripped through that valley in Texas. Let's believe any moment now. Here comes Donald Trump. Yep, the salutes go up. Here is Trump. Donald Trump in Texas, of course. Hugely political moment, a very, very deep red Republican state. My sister lives there. I was there myself only a few weeks ago. Still very much MAGA country. Donald Trump quick onto the scene in Texas. Of course, a lot of young children, a lot of young girls tragically killed in that flash flood. A huge amount of questions to be asked about how that could have happened, how there were no early warning signs, and devastated families, a huge human impact. Donald Trump there paying his respects ahead of heading off. In fact, he's in Maryland there, and he's getting on to Air Force One now to go to Texas. He'll be flying just a short flight over to Texas, and when he gets there and when he lands, we'll have full coverage, no doubt. Then Donald Trump there getting onto Air Force One, waving with his wife, Melania, get on board that majestic plane and head towards Texas. That's Donald Trump getting on Air Force One now, heading towards Texas. We'll have more on that when the president lands in Texas. Let's return now to the home story, British politics, and that's of Angela Rayner being suspended by the Unite Union, former deputy leader of the Labour Party in the House of Lords. Baroness Diane Hayter joins me now. Baroness Hayter, pleasure to have your esteemed company. It truly is. What do you make of this? Is this bad news for the Labour Party? They're threatening to defund the entire party. That's a lot of wonga. £554,000 last year.
Well, I think there are a couple of things here. One is, of course, I mean, Angela Rayner is a lifelong trade unionist. She's worked to represent trade unionists most of her life, and that's absolutely correct. But what trade unions traditionally do is to lobby, persuade, try and get the political party to adopt policies that are helpful for trade union members. That's all good, but it crosses a line where the unions then say, and we will withdraw our finances if you don't do what we say. I think that is bad for the trade union movement to be seen to be doing that. But the second thing, of course, is that the Deputy Prime Minister has responsibilities not just to union members, but to the whole society. I mean, she and the government are elected by the whole country and have the country's interests at heart. And she quite rightly is doing that. She's responding as Deputy Prime Minister. That's the right thing to do. All MPs must take decisions in the public interest, not for any particular section. So I think she's right to do what she's doing. And of course, she's not party to this dispute. It's between Birmingham and the trade union. It's not a dispute that the government is involved in.
But the problem we have here is that Angela Rayner needs to choose the horse that she's going to back here. If she chooses to remain neutral and stick on the side of the council and not the workers, then she'll get the chagrin of the unions. But the trouble is, if she caves to the unions, then they will come back time and time again and make similar demands, no doubt, elsewhere. They're flexing their muscles. They carry a lot of financial clout. How do you see this heading out?
Well, I think there's only some members of that trade union who feel that way. She's not a party to this dispute. And when I was on the national executive and when I was chair of the Labour Party, the trade unions, including Unite, always used to say to politicians, keep out of this. Our dispute or our issue is with the employer. In this case, it happens to be Birmingham. But when it was any industrial dispute, they did not want politicians involved. And I think that remains the case for most trade unionists. They are there to represent their workers, their members, vis-a-vis a government. And Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, quite rightly is not a party to this. I believe that most trade unionists agree that this is something that should be done between Unite and Birmingham, and the government should stay outside of it.
Baroness Hayter, what would you say to people with a long memory like myself who remember the lights going out in the 1970s, remember the garbage piled up to our armpits back in the good old days, the bad old days of God Save the Queen, the Sex Pistols? Is this back to the future? Is this the unions once again sending us back to the 70s, trying to take over the country and that way disaster lies?
I thought I was the only one that remembered that. You don't look old enough to. But I was certainly around at the time. No, it isn't that. A lot has changed since then. The unions in those days, there was a closed shop. My judgment and my fear, in a way, is if the unions do not behave sensibly over this, more and more of the workers will leave the trade unions. That, to me, as a lifelong trade unionist, is a disaster. I want people active in their trade unions, but I also want trade unions to keep their role as representing their members vis-a-vis the employers, and indeed a role in the Labour Party of trying to make sure that where the Labour Party's policies, for example, over the provision of schools or education, helps their members, they act as a lobby on us, but not a control on us. I think that's what most trade union members want. So no, I don't think we're back to the days. You must have been in short trousers at the time.
I was, and that meant I could really feel the cold a lot more. Look, we have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us. With pleasure. Please come back on the show. Fantastic guest. And that is Baroness Diane Hayter. Thank you very much. Now, on those... moving on quickly now to our next guest, a Runcorn resident has been handed a 28-month prison sentence for posting a tweet sparking comparisons to the Lucy Connolly case. So let's go directly now to the Reform UK MP for Runcorn and Helsby, Sarah Pochin. Sarah Pochin, I understand you've just come out of HMP Kirkham there, not as an inmate, but as a visitor. You've been visiting your constituents who you say has been imprisoned with chilling echoes of the Lucy Connolly case. You've just been to see him. What's the latest?
It's really bad, Martin, what's been going on here. So I am at HMP Kirkham. I've just come out from visiting one of my residents, one of my constituents who lives in Runcorn. I won't give you his name at the moment because he is due out shortly. And I'm worried that if I actually say who he is, that they will do their utmost to delay his release. But the fact is, I've never seen anything like it in my 20 years as a magistrate. This gentleman, yes, perhaps wrongly, put out 2 Facebook posts. One said, following the Southport stabbings of the 3 young girls, one of his Facebook posts says, "We need to protest." Nothing more, at the Daresbury Hotel, which is the asylum illegal immigrant hotel in my constituency. And then he put another one out saying we need to march on the Daresbury with torches and pitchforks. So for that, he was arrested on a Saturday. He was charged for inciting racial hatred. He was seen by the magistrates on the Monday, so held for 2 days in the police cells, which isn't unusual if you're arrested on a Saturday. I'll give them that. But seen on the magistrates, found guilty by the magistrates, and then sentenced by the Crown Court the following day. So within 3 days, he hadn't seen his family, he was held on remand, and he was then sentenced to 28 months in prison.
Hey, Sarah,
unbelievable.
Sarah, I just need to interject. I mean, of course, that came at a very febrile time and the courts were open 24 hours a day. The Prime Minister made the call that there had to be swift resolution and justice to try and clamp down on a tinderbox of a situation. Do you not accept that something had to be done?
What I don't accept at all is that this type of offence is dealt with by a 30-odd month. I've got another resident that's the same, got 31 months in prison. These men have been sent to hardcore prisons. The one I've seen today went to Stoke Heath, and given that he was in for a racial crime, Stoke Heath is 80% Asian and black inmates. He was terrified for his life. He spent 10 days in his cell not coming out. And in the end, he was told by the prison officers if he didn't come out, he would lose privileges. He was terrified for his life. And this type of offence should be dealt with in the community by means of a rehabilitation, go on a course that, advises you not to put this sort of thing out on Facebook. This gentleman that I've seen today had no previous criminal record. To get a 30-month prison sentence is unheard of for a first offence. He'd never been in trouble with the police before, never arrested by the police before. This is exactly the sort of case that should be dealt with in the community, as this government is suggesting. And by the way, this government is letting out somebody like a convicted paedophile, which we won't mention his name, but we all know who it is, a celebrity convicted paedophile, didn't even go to prison, out on the streets. Not only that, Martin, I can give you the example of the Labour MP that I actually replaced, who punched repeatedly a constituent on the floor and spent 2 nights in jail and was then let out on a community sentence. This is two-tier justice by an establishment that wants to make a big deal about this, protecting these illegal immigrants, makes a big deal about calling people like myself racist. It's got to stop. And the only way to stop it is to get this government out. But this shouldn't be political. I have been here. We're dealing with real people, real lives. This resident has a son, a 9-year-old son, who has been deeply affected by what's happened to his dad. It's got to stop. It's got to stop, Martin. It's two-tier justice.
Sarah Pochin, do you think free speech in this country is at a tipping point?
I absolutely do. In fact, I was on a television programme, one of your competitors, I'm sorry to say, but I was having exactly that conversation. And I said to the host, you and I will not, before long, will not be able to even discuss. We were discussing the illegal immigrants coming across on the boats. I said, we won't even be able to have this conversation soon without both of us being arrested and likely being put in somewhere like this, place and having to serve time. That's what's happening with this government. Angela Rayner is bringing in laws now to stop free speech. Well, that will not happen under a reform government. How ridiculous. You can't go down the pub now and have a political conversation for fear of being reported and arrested, like, for example, this resident was in his home on a Saturday afternoon.
OK, Sarah Pochin, thank you for joining us. You've been directly inside HMP Kirkham there with your resident. You've come out and given an account. Thanks for joining us. Very, very passionate there. Sarah Pochin from HMP Kirkham.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, still to come, we'll be hearing from Donald Trump as he heads to Texas after catastrophic flooding hit the region. I'm Martin Daubney on GB News, Britain's News Channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, 3:28 now. US President Donald Trump is currently heading to Texas after catastrophic floods killed at least 121 people, and he spoke to reporters earlier on today.
He was a very tough negotiator, and I can tell you he was a very honest man, and he loved the people of Brazil. He was a very tough guy to negotiate with. I shouldn't like him because he was very tough in negotiation, but he was also very honest. And I know the honest ones, and I know the crooked ones. We're going to see. It was sent yesterday. They called. I think it was fairly well received, but it's what we need. So we'll see what happens.
Russian drones hit a maternity hospital in Ukraine overnight.
I know. You'll be seeing things happen.
Now that you will go to Texas, are you planning on delivering any type of help for undocumented families that lost everything, including their children?
I think we've done very well on immigration. We were given a very bad hand by Biden. He allowed 25 million people to come in totally unchecked, unvetted. We're getting the criminals out, and we're getting them out fast. The courts have ultimately done the right thing. Amazingly, they've really done the right thing, and they understand it's really the survival of our country. It's a very important thing. We can't have like 11,888 murders. And, you know, something that you should have that you haven't reported. As you know, 300,000 children are missing. Right? 300,000 under Biden. We've already gotten back 10,000 of those children, and we have a lot more planned to come back. We're getting them back by the thousands. But 300,000, and we've, as of this morning, over 10,000 we've gotten back.
What is your advice to countries worldwide ahead of the upcoming tariff deadline?
Oh, I think just keep working hard. You know, we've been taken advantage of for many, many years. Countries, both friend and foe, and frankly, the friends have been worse than the foes in many cases. So, I would say just keep working. It's all going to work out. No. I think he's doing a terrible job. I think we should be, I think we should be 3 points lower interest rate. He's costing our country a lot of money. We should be #1, and we're not. And that's because of Jerome Powell. In terms of interest, we are #1 in the world. Look, I'll tell you a little simple language. 1 year ago, our country was a dead country. We were going nowhere except down. We were the laughing stock all over the world. And now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're #1 everywhere, anywhere in the world. And that's all they're talking about is our country. 1 year ago, it was a dead country. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Thank you.
And that's Donald Trump there, just ahead of his visit to Texas, of course, to Kerrville, beg your pardon, where at least 121 died in that flash flood of the river last Friday, including at least 36 children. There's a huge political debate because the state was repeatedly denied an early warning system for floods on that river. So there's a huge amount of detail to unpick, and when Donald Trump lands in Texas, we'll of course cross back and carry that live later in the show. Now, lots more still to come between now and 4 o'clock, including a bonfire labelled as racist has been set alight in Northern Ireland, burning a dinghy full of immigrant dummies. But is it really a hate crime? But first, it's time for your latest news headlines, and here's Sophia Hill.
Good afternoon. The latest headlines just after 3:30. The Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed on with France on Thursday is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite Union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. US President Donald Trump is on his way to Central Texas to survey the damage from the July 4th flash floods that killed at least 120 people and have left dozens more missing. The UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The Office for National Statistics said the economy contracted by 0.1%. And a hosepipe ban is coming into force in Yorkshire and Sussex today as the third heatwave of the summer grips the country. Those are the latest headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's sunny and hot out there for the vast majority, a little bit cooler on the east coast, and it's here where there could be some low cloud appearing overnight. Otherwise, high pressure remains in charge. That high pressure sitting in the North Sea, maintaining sunny skies across the vast majority of the country and maintaining hot conditions for many, even as we go into the evening, temperatures remaining in the high 20s, low 30s in places. And after dark, despite the clear skies, temperatures aren't going to fall very far at all. Widely the mid to high teens and in some spots 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And we do have some mist and low cloud returning to the east of the UK. Patchy in nature, but it'll be around first thing on Saturday. So not entirely sunny everywhere. I think for some of these eastern parts of Scotland, Shetland, Eastern England as well, it will be grey skies first thing, some mist around. Further west, plenty of sunshine from the word go. Scotland, Northern Ireland, soon warming up, likely to be the warmest day of the year so far in these areas. Likewise for Western England, Wales, temperatures already from dawn, we're talking about 20, 21 Celsius, rapidly rising through the morning. And we do see that low cloud and the mist in the east retreat back to the beaches. So for the vast majority inland, it's going to be clear skies. It will linger, though, for some of these coastal locations, keeping things cooler. And we do, of course, have this easterly airflow. So for the likes of East Anglia in the southeast, it's not as hot as previous heat waves, but with temperatures peaking further west at 33 or 34 Celsius, it will be hotter compared with previous heat waves. And for Scotland and Northern Ireland, the potential for 29, 30 Celsius, even 31 or 32 for parts of northern Scotland. It's remarkably hot for these locations. It then changes into next week, further showers to come and a drop in temperatures.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Drivers on the A720 eastbound should remain cautious due to a broken down vehicle at Hermiston Gate Slip, causing restrictions. In Wiltshire, one lane is closed on the A303 eastbound between the A36 and A360. Congestion on the A27 westbound between the A2030 and M275 is causing 10-minute delays. Roadworks on the M4 eastbound between Junction 30 Cardiff Gate and Junction 32 Corriton result in a diversion. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services are disrupted between Stoke-on-Trent and Stockport. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back. It is 3:37. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a bonfire in Northern Ireland topped with a model migrant dinghy and a sign reading "Stop the Boats" has been set alight as police investigate now the display as a hate crime. I'm joined in the studio by the political commentator, great friend of the show, Matthew Stadler. Matthew, welcome to the studio. I see you got your Lord's tie. You come back from the cricket.
I've left the cricket, Martin. Just for you, missed Jofra Archer's first wicket back after 4 years to have an argument with you.
Well, I'm just about to knock you for 6 on this one, am I?
We'll see. So, I've hit Sadiq Khan for 6 before, so I'm not sure that I fear your bowling.
Okie dokie.
Or batting.
Well, let's throw this one at you for first. It's just a display. It's just a dinghy. It's full of effigies of immigrants. It was set on fire at 11 o'clock last night in County Tyrone. A lot of people are saying that's vile and racist. Others saying it's just a bonfire. What do you think?
There's plenty of space for nuance when we have conversations about politics. People have perfectly reasonably differing views on all sorts of things. On this, it's completely straightforward. It was absolutely disgusting, totally un-British, totally un-Irish, whichever way you want to look at it. Nothing to do with local culture, nothing to do with Irish culture or British culture or the history of the Battle of Boyne in the late 17th century in 1690 when William III beat, I think it was, James II. This was just pure bigotry and nastiness. You can have strong views about people coming to this country illegally. Lots of people do. It is the government's policy to try to stop those boats. That's what they've been trying to do. Successfully or not, we have to wait and see with Macron this week. But to burn an effigy of people in a boat, I mean, it's sick.
Sinn Féin agree that they called it vile and deplorable, clearly a hate crime. The Archbishop of Ireland called it racist, deeply sub-Christian and inhuman. Amnesty International called it vile, dehumanising. It fuels hatred and racism. But Jamie Brighton, having him on the show later on, he said this is simply legitimate political expression. A lot of people stood up for Kneecap, who, of course, are going through a political trial, and they weren't at all offended about that, supporting Hezbollah. Can you not accept it's just a bonfire? People have been burning effigies of Donald Trump, of Boris Johnson, of Nigel Farage. Nobody batted an eyelid at that.
Some of the things that have come out of the mouths of some members of Kneecap, some of the stuff that came out of the mouth of the other, what was he called? Bob Villan?
Yes.
Bob Villan. Vile, disgusting stuff. I'm centre-left politics. I've got no time for the nastiness on the hard left. Not all of it, of course, is nasty. I've got no time for the nastiness on the hard right or the far right. People who spread hatred should feel ashamed of themselves. Of course, there are questions of whether the law of the land has been broken in each case that we might discuss. But whether it's criminal or not, you should not be burning effigies of other human beings. Okay. And look, there is anger about the number of people who come to this country illegally. Many of them are genuine asylum seekers. Some of them are not. People want things to be done fairly. People, including myself, want us to have borders that actually work. It's been a huge advantage to us over the centuries that we are an island. In this case, it's not proving to be such an advantage, although I can tell you if you're in Europe with land borders, it's certainly no easier. The government is committed to trying to sort this out. The fact that they haven't yet, in my view, shows how difficult it is. You'd like us, I think, to leave the Refugee Convention. You'd like us to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. I'm afraid I don't agree with you on that because I think they're still important things.
Here's something that I've been hearing a lot on this channel for many, many months. We've covered a lot of the trouble in both Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland around communities, particularly working class communities, feeling utterly abandoned by the political class and by the law and order class. For example, the police service of Northern Ireland responded to this burning of this bonfire, calling it a hate incident. Police are here to help those who are or who feel vulnerable, to keep people safe. And yet locals in both parts of Ireland have been telling GB News, been telling their own media, been telling the political class for many, many months they don't feel safe because of uncontrolled immigration. And when they complain, they're called racist. I put it to you, Matthew Stadler, this bonfire we can see before us now is totemic of a feeling of a community that feels completely abandoned and they want to be heard. You might disagree with their mode, but we're talking about it.
We've already heard people from that community call it out. First thing to say, I think this is really key, is that working class communities do not speak with one voice. You get all sorts of different political views from within the working classes.
Their voice is silenced by the media in Ireland. They come to GB News because we're one of the few outlets that gives them a fair crack of the whip.
People should be given a voice. Of course they should. And people from working class communities should be given just as big a voice as people from middle class communities. I come, I suppose, from a middle class community. My voice is no more valuable than somebody who comes from a working class community. But just as my community, if it is such a community, and by the way, I mix with working class people, middle class people, some upper class people, but just as people in my milieu think differently, I'm married, for example, to a Conservative, I've never voted Tory in my life, so people from working class communities think differently. The police are here to keep all of us safe. They're here to keep your family safe, my family safe.
But they're not keeping a lot of women and children in these precise communities safe. We've seen sexual assaults and rape allegations, and the police have simply been looking the other way. And this, I put it to you, that bonfires like this, as crass as you may see them, are a crystallisation of being ignored for too long by the authorities.
There's no excuse for the sort of hate we've seen in that bonfire. There was no excuse whatsoever for the riots that we saw.
No one was actually killed.
I'm not necessarily saying it's a criminal offence. What I'm saying is it's disgusting, and we have to have a moral compass. And if we abandon our moral compass in the face of people coming over the channel, desperate people, let's remember, who are risking their lives, doesn't mean we don't want to stop them. If we abandon our moral compass, who are we as individuals? Who are we as people?
Should we stop?
Who are we as a country? Let me just quickly finish the point.
Should we stop burning effigies of Nigel Farage,
Of course we should.
Donald Trump?
Of course we should.
I don't think they mind.
Of course we should. Well, he may or may not mind. Any violence directed towards Nigel Farage or anyone else who shares his view is totally unacceptable.
I agree, but burning an effigy isn't violence towards a person, it's burning an effigy.
That's my point. It depends whether it's trying to incite something. If it's trying to actually incite violence against other people, then it may very well have crossed the criminal threshold. Those riots last year were a terrifying time for lots of communities and for people up and down this country. We cannot have those sorts of things ever happening again. We don't want to see that sort of stuff. You can have strong views about things, you can articulate them. You give people a chance on this TV programme to give people a voice. But you don't need to go around burning effigies of other human beings.
All right, so there's an effigy of Liz Truss on the screen. That was set on fire.
Not acceptable.
And people, perhaps of your political persuasion, Matthew, dare I say, will find it hilarious.
You're lumping me with the whole... I'm someone who sat on a stage with Liz Truss for an hour in Scotland in front of a hostile audience and treated her with the respect she deserves as a human being and a former Prime Minister. I disagree with her very strongly on lots of things. I thought she was a dreadful Prime Minister. Do I think people should be burning effigies of her? No, I do not. Do I think people should have been chanting violent rhetoric at Jacob Rees-Mogg, another presenter on the channel when he was a Tory MP?
Nigel Farage
no,
on screen?
I don't think it is. I think it's extremely poor taste. Extremely poor taste.
So Matthew Sadler,
I'm against violence, unless it's self-defence.
I would say to you, that's a commendable position. You are consistent.
Of course I am.
In your position. But my point to you is, many people on the Liberal side of politics aren't. They think it's hilarious to set fire to a Farage, set fire to a Boris Johnson, set fire to a Donald Trump.
Well, let me put it like this.
They're clutching their pearls about the Ireland, about Northern Ireland.
Let's just take one example. We were talking about Glastonbury. I brought it in earlier. I think what happened on October the 7th was horrific and barbaric. I think what Israel has done in response, although of course it had to respond in some way, has been horrific and barbaric. I think they're extremely bad people on both sides of that conflict. I want the IDF to stop destroying Gaza. Does that mean I think that someone should be chanting death, death to the IDF? No, it doesn't. I think that's appalling. I think we've got to look at the way we use language. Free speech comes with responsibility. I feel very free in my own country where I've been born and bred and privileged to live for 45 years. I feel free to say whatever I want. I support other people's right to say things that strongly disagree with me. What I do not accept and what I will always call out is disgusting violence and disgusting rhetoric. And if you're burning an effigy of vulnerable people in boats, men, women and children, many of them may be men, but they're still human beings, then shame on you. Whether or not it crosses a criminal threshold, I don't know. OK, Matthew Sadler, I think you put it very, very eloquently, and thank you so much for taking time out from the cricket. I sincerely mean that. Thank you very much, Matthew. Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Now let's move on now. In search of some holiday sun, and here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst the UK will experience Mediterranean-like temperatures on Saturday, it's not going to be quite as hot through the Mediterranean as it has been recently. For the Canaries and for Madeira, fairly typical conditions of the time of year. Breezy, partly cloudy, otherwise fine. But we've got this area of thunderstorms developing across northern Spain, the Pyrenees, Andorra, southern France. They could be quite lively. And for Italy, for Greece, sunny spells. Not quite as hot, but it is going to heat up into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Back in 2015, Thornton and Cleveley's resident Emma Shepherd noticed the grass in her garden wasn't growing. Within months, she had to put down Alfie, one of her beloved dogs who had developed throat cancer. Just weeks later, she developed a lesion on her back, which would later be diagnosed as skin cancer. She knew then that something wasn't right.
I wasn't really aware of the history of the ICI site when I took the property. I did so much investigation. I had the ground tested with my own money. There was high levels of metals in there and some obviously cancerous carcinogenics in there. They actually nicknamed me Erin Brockovich because I was so all over it.
Last year, a joint investigation was launched by the Environment Agency and the local council. That was following the discovery of PFOA, a man-made chemical that potentially causes cancer. Both parties told GB News they are now working together on this matter, whilst the company under investigation for the potential release of the substance had this to say. AGC Chemicals Europe sets the highest standards for itself and takes its commitments to the local community and to the environment extremely seriously. They added that they voluntarily phased out the use of PFOA in the UK by early 2012. Release of the substance was within the permits held by AGC Chemicals Europe at the time and also UK legislation in place at the time. And yet, 2 months ago, residents within a kilometre of the site received this letter from the council, advising them not to consume anything grown in their gardens due to potential PFOA contamination.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion, Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast. This weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening town?
No, it's a cypress town.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It is 10 to 4. I'm Martin Daubney on GB News. So Supersonic are returning to Manchester tonight. The Oasis duo Noel and Liam Gallagher play at Heaton Park later on today in front of a sold-out show, the first of 5. Let's cross over now to our very own rock and roll star in Manchester. GB News' Sophie Reaper tells us more. In your bucket hat, you're surrounded by the fans. What's the mood?
Martin, the atmosphere is absolutely incredible here. I just have to say this is something that myself and many people...
Where's Patrick Christie's?
He might be here.
Is he?
From Manchester, isn't he, our Patrick Christie's?
We wanna win!
People... You asked about the atmosphere, Martin. What more can I say? Everyone is so up for this. We've been waiting so many years for this here in Manchester. Of course, they started the tour in Cardiff last weekend, but this is it. This is the homecoming. They grew up here in Manchester. They were born and raised. They're proper Manc lads, and they're finally making their homecoming. Shall we try and speak to some Oasis fans here today? No, he wasn't keen. Does anyone fancy having a chat with us? Come on, come on. Are you excited, sir? Come on.
Yeah.
You've got we've got matching hats on.
Waiting years for this, haven't we?
Yeah. Are you born and bred, or are you from where from?
I'm about 30 minutes away.
30 minutes. Well, so we're Oasis. Yeah. There you go. How excited are you? Can you put it into words? You say you've been waiting years for this.
I'll put it this way. My younger kids are with me as well, and they're only 20-odd-year-old, and they've grown up listening to it. And about 5 years ago, I said, "Oh, I'm not into him." Then all of a sudden, it's just clicked because he's got a bit older, his brain's matured. So
I think so many people born and raised in Manchester, their dads will be. I know my dad's at home will be saying that he raised me and my sister on Oasis. Favourite song and what are you most looking forward to? Oh, it's a hard one, isn't it? It's the set list. This is what I was saying before. It's such a good set list.
We do like Master Plan, though.
Master Plan, that's a good one. Good one.
I'll be crying later.
Oh, who won't be crying? I think, you know what I think? When they do Don't Look Back in Anger, here in Manchester, it'll just be the most...
I think tonight will be a different atmosphere than it's ever been, than it was in Cardiff.
Yeah.
Plus it's outdoors.
Exactly.
We watched Liam in Nebworth, and that was fantastic outdoors.
Absolutely.
It's just outdoors, it's nice.
And you've got the sunshine.
Atmosphere.
To quote Liam Gallagher, sunshine, should I say.
Sunshine and beers, what more do you want?
A dream. And Oasis. Like you say, you've been waiting years for this. Have the most incredible time tonight. I'm sure you will. We're very jealous. Get on in. No, we've not got tickets. We're here, we're working. I'm very envious. I've got tickets for Edinburgh, so I will get to see them. Just a shame it's not in our home time. But listen, have an amazing night. Thank you so much for talking to us. There you go, just one of around 80,000 people today who are going to be soaking this up, Martin. What a night it's going to be.
She's electric, and you managed to get through that without anybody swearing. What a miracle. Sophie Reaper, beautiful stuff. Now, still to come, I'm joined by a former Border Force chief who's called Sir Keir Starmer's migrant deal with France worse than useless. I'm Martin Daubney on GB News, Britain's News Channel. It's a fantastic afternoon. Look out the window and enjoy your beautiful weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's sunny and hot out there for the vast majority, a little bit cooler on the east coast. It's here where there could be some low cloud appearing overnight. Otherwise, high pressure remains in charge. That high pressure sitting in the North Sea, maintaining sunny skies across the vast majority of the country and maintaining hot conditions for many, even as we go into the evening, temperatures remaining in the high 20s, low 30s in places. And after dark, despite the clear skies, temperatures aren't going to fall very far at all. Widely the mid to high teens and in some spots 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And we do have some mist and low cloud returning to the east of the UK. Patchy in nature, but it'll be around first thing on Saturday. So not entirely sunny everywhere. I think for some of these eastern parts of Scotland, Shetland, eastern England as well, it will be grey skies first thing, some mist around. Further west, plenty of sunshine from the word go. Scotland, Northern Ireland, soon warming up. Likely to be the warmest day of the year so far in these areas. Likewise for Western England, Wales, temperatures already from dawn, we're talking about 20, 21 Celsius, rapidly rising through the morning. And we do see that low cloud and the mist in the east retreat back to the beaches. So for the vast majority inland, it's going to be clear skies. It will linger, though, for some of these coastal locations, keeping things cooler. And we do, of course, have this easterly airflow. So for the likes of East Anglia in the southeast, it's not as hot as previous heat waves, but with temperatures peaking further west at 33 or 34 Celsius, it will be hotter compared with previous heat waves. And for Scotland and Northern Ireland, the potential for 29, 30 Celsius, even 31 or 32 for parts of northern Scotland. It's remarkably hot for these locations. It then changes into next week, further showers to come and a drop in temperatures.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Significant delays affect travellers on the M50 eastbound from junction 13 to 12 in West Berkshire, with 2 lanes closed due to an accident. In Derbyshire, accidents on the A38 northbound between the A610 and A61 Alfreton cause lane restrictions. The M62 westbound near Kirklees has 2 lanes closed. The M5 southbound in Worcestershire is shut. The A303 eastbound near the A36 junction in Wiltshire is partially blocked. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast services have disruptions between Liverpool Lime Street and Runcorn. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
A very, very good afternoon to you on this beautiful, warm Friday. It's 4 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you live from the heart of Westminster and all across the UK. On today's show, the Unite Union has sensationally binned Angela Rayner, accusing her of backing Birmingham Council and not council workers in the city's long-winded and painful bin strike. And now Unite, the Labour's union's biggest donor to the tune of £554,000 last year, is threatening to defund Labour if they sack workers. Is this the same old Labour Party, the same old union rubbish? And Emmanuel Macron has blamed Brexit. Nigel Farage has slammed Keir Starmer's one-in, one-out deal as a humiliation for Brexit Britain. And still, it might get sunk by Brussels. On today's show, I'll be joined by a former Border Force chief who's called this deal worse than useless. And a racist bonfire in Northern Ireland was set fire to last night, burning a dinghy full of illegal immigrants' dummies. Local police in Northern Ireland are investigating this now as a hate crime. On today's show, I'll be joined by an Ulster activist who calls it a legitimate political expression and by opponents who slammed it as vile, inhuman and racist. And it's just hours to go now until Oasis take to the stage back in Manchester after a lengthy 16-year absence. Now, some might say that our reporter Sophie Reaper has the best job in the world today because she'll be live there, and we'll join her live from Heaton Park ahead of the great Mancunian comeback. Welcome to the show, and it's a pleasure to have your company. Do you believe in miracles? Do you believe in unicorns? Now, bear with me, I haven't been drinking, but apparently a unicorn skull has been found down in Cornwall. Take a look at this. A Canadian tourist on a holiday here found this skull, and he reckons it's the real deal. What do you think? Take a butchers.
It is quite extraordinary. It looks like a horse's head. It looks, you know, a genuine article. However, I do wonder whether or not it has been in fact glued on in places to the bone. But if it has been, they've done an incredibly good job, and it would be a very elaborate hoax.
Yes, has it been glued on? Or could it be the real thing? Well, I'll speak to that reporter who got his mitts on this fantastic skull. It's now going to be the prize of honour, and a boozer near Stonehenge will be joining the lads at that pub next week when they get it knocked up on the wall. But do you believe in unicorns? Well, we'll have the guy on later on the show who had his hands on this treasured artefact. Get in touch usual way, GBNews.com/your say, and that's your headlines. Here's Sophia Hill.
Very good afternoon. It's just gone 4 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. The top story, the Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. So Keir Starmer's struck a deal with France in a fresh push to stop the small boats, but it still needs sign-off from Brussels. President Macron has already taken aim, blaming Brexit for the Channel crisis. Meanwhile, Border Force and the RNLI have been out in the water today, with the first boat carrying migrants arriving into Dover this morning. Now, the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, says under the new agreement, those making the crossing will be detained.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings, because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing, is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach that looks across the board.
Meanwhile, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp said the deal with France will be no deterrent whatsoever.
I'm afraid this deal is another hopeless gimmick, just like Keir Starmer's pathetic claim a year ago to be smashing the gangs, which has dismally failed because record numbers of illegal immigrants so far this year have crossed the Channel, record ever numbers. This is another gimmick, just like the smash the gangs claim. And the reason for that is that only 50 illegal immigrants per week are going to get sent back to France. And that amounts to only 6% of the illegal arrivals. Now, that means that 94% of illegal arrivals are going to be allowed to stay in the UK.
US President Donald Trump is heading to Texas after catastrophic floods killed at least 121 people. Stopping to talk to reporters before boarding Air Force One, Mr. Trump reiterated how horrible and unbelievable the events were. President Trump has vowed unwavering support for Texas, praising Governor Greg Abbott and local leaders for what he called their incredible response to the July 4th disaster. Back in the UK, Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says Unite is crystal clear. It will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers fighting huge pay cuts. A Downing Street spokesman replied, saying the government's priority throughout the dispute had always been Birmingham's residents. And the UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, down 0.1%, according to the Office for National Statistics. That's marking the second month of contraction and surprising analysts who had forecast a modest growth. The government has made boosting economic growth a key priority, and Chancellor Rachel Reeves said the latest figure was disappointing. The ONS say the fall in economic output was mainly driven by a drop in manufacturing, while retail sales were very weak. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More in half an hour, but first let's check in on the markets.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets this afternoon. The pound will buy you $1.348 and €1.154. The price of gold is £2,490.74 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 8,939 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Thank you, Sophia. Now, Emmanuel Macron has blamed Brexit for the Channel migrant crisis. As he said, the British people have been sold a lie.
I know it's not your case, Prime Minister, but many people in your country explained that Brexit would make it possible to fight more effectively against illegal immigration. But it's in fact since Brexit that the UK has no migratory agreement with the EU. In fact, it creates an incentive to make the crossing the precise opposite what the Brexiters promised.
Well, Mr Macron attacked the 2016 vote as it emerged that a one-in, one-out deal will initially only see a fraction of illegal arrivals even sent back. And even then, it still needs approval from the European Union. But Reform UK leader Nigel Farage didn't take kindly to the French president's attacks on Brexit.
Is Brexit Britain? We voted to take back control of our borders, not to accept a deal given to us by a French president. But I think what we're facing here is a national security emergency. Australia stopped it by towing the boats back to Indonesia. We will stop it by leaving the ECHR, by getting the right to deport. That will work. If it doesn't, in the end, we'll take the boats back to France.
Well, nevertheless, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper was optimistic that the new deal will solve the crisis.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing, is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach.
Well, can this one-in, one-out deal miraculously solve the small boats crisis? Well, let's bring in my next guest now. That's the former Director General of Border Force, Tony Smith. Tony, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure. You've written an excellent article in today's Telegraph, eviscerating article. You've called this deal worse than useless. Tell us why.
Martin, can you just help me dispel this myth about Brexit, please? Because I worked in the Home Office for many years when we were in the EU, and we never sent any asylum seekers back to France under the Dublin Convention, under any version. I can say that with authority, but I keep getting beaten up by people saying, oh, no, I've been all right, Mr Macron, you know, if we were back in the EU and US, it's nonsense, Martin. Nonsense. They never accepted asylum. So in that respect, Starmer's right. It's groundbreaking, actually, to be able to even return the view that they are going to return, because they've never accepted it. So I just really want to kill that one off. And if you can help me do that, that will be a big achievement, because it is nonsense. As for the deal, you've already covered it. It's not even up and running yet. We don't know when it's going to start. It needs authority from the EU, lots of noises from the Commission, other member states, people over there saying we're not happy that he should have done this, he's not got the authority. So I don't know how long that's going to take to clear the decks on his side before we finally get there. And then it's only going to be a maximum 2,500, 2,600 a year, isn't it, Martin, compared with 44,000 inbound. So I don't think the smugglers and the migrants are quaking in their boots in Calais right now. I suspect they'll just see this as another publicity stunt. And as you've seen from figures yesterday and today, when the weather's good, Martin, they're going to keep rolling in, aren't they?
And the fact, you're absolutely right. So I've had so many people on this show in the past, Tony Smith, and I said to them, well, they say, oh, you know, we could return immigrants before Brexit. And I said, well, how many? Nobody has ever been able to give me an accurate number because the numbers don't exist. And Tony Smith, you also set out in your article today about why that was so difficult. Tell us why it was so difficult to even return anybody before Brexit.
So when we started talking about, I mean, the whole thing was to stop asylum shopping, Martin. We had people claiming asylum all over the place and loads of benefits. So we said, well, why don't we fingerprint them all? And then we'll know, because they ain't got any passports, they changed their names. So we had this Eurodac system. So what you had to do, you had to fingerprint them. We still do that, and then send the fingerprints off to other countries. So, well, do you know this person? Have you got them in your asylum database? And the answer from France was invariably no, monsieur. We did get some out of Germany and Holland who played the game. You know, they play a bit of cricket there, I think. But we ended up taking more people back in from Ireland, actually, than we ever exported under any version of the Dublin Convention. So all of this nonsense about this is to do with Brexit is a complete myth. We've never been able to return failed asylum seekers back. If we can return them under the gentleman's agreement, if they don't claim asylum, you know, and turn up on a ferry into New Haven from Dieppe and haven't got a passport, but for asylum, as soon as the magic word is mentioned, then all bets are off.
And Tony Smith, that brings us to this current deal. Even if it were to be agreed, it has to still go to Brussels. Now, every member state has to rubber stamp it. The European Commission has to rubber stamp it. Tony Smith, I put it to you, that's about as likely as me becoming an astronaut. Because Greece, Italy, Cyprus and Malta, those that are on the front line and they're receiving huge amounts in, they may well fear with reasonable doubt that the people who eventually make it to Dover might be retraced back to one of their countries and they could be sent back down the conveyor belt to them. Not in a million years will they agree to this, Tony Smith.
No, well, I think that's why Monsieur Macron might get his wrist slapped a little bit by the EU Commission when he gets home. Because you're right, this has always been his line. You have to do a third country deal with Brussels, not me. I don't have the powers or the authorities, and the EU Commission don't like us, do they? They don't like us because we left the EU. We are now third country nationals, and therefore, why would we do a deal with you? But the problem they've got, Mike, as you well know, they've got this new refugee asylum pact. They can't agree amongst themselves. Who's going where? Should they go to Germany or Ireland? They're having internal battles. So part of this one out bit will be to soften us. So let's try and get the Brits to take a few of ours. You know, I don't know how that's going to work or where that's going to work. But unless we start sending back significant numbers, not just to France, but to Rwanda or to anywhere else, they're going to keep coming. It's the removals deterrent. Now, they will dress it up as a removals deterrent, but the numbers are so small, Martin, come on.
Well, I mean, even if we hit the 6% number, Tony Smith, well, you know, we get 1,000 on a good day, so that's 60. We could send 60 back, and in return for those 60, we'd have to take 60 asylum seekers anyway, so the net difference is zero.
Yeah, and even them 60 again, we can't turn them around on the boats, which is what I would have done. I'd have put them on the boat there and sailed them back to Calais. What we're doing, Martin, we're still bringing them all ashore. Then someone's got to pick which one, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, are you. And even that one, he'll have a human rights lawyer on his case straight away saying, oh, no, there's all kinds of reasons why you can't send him back to France, and we're back to square one again. So, you know, although I can see what they're trying to do, and yeah, safe third, if we could ever get a complete safe third with France, I'd go for it. I'm afraid that this one at the moment can't see it making much difference as we speak.
So, in a word, Tony Smith, do you think this deal is simply doomed to fail?
I wouldn't go that far, Martin. Give them a chance. Give them a chance. We've got to do something. So give them a chance. But my instincts, my gut are all telling me this is just another attempt really to try and pacify people that they're doing something. The proof will be in the figures. You will report them every day on your channel. All your viewers watch them figures. If they start going down, fair enough. I don't think they will.
OK, Tony Smith, diplomatic as ever. Thank you very much for joining us on the show there, the former Chief of Border Force. Always a pleasure. Now, moving on back to some more domestic politics, more choppy waters for the Labour Party, because Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. And the union has also announced that it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. Now, Sharon Graham, the boss of the Unite union, says this. Unite is crystal clear. It will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers, fighting huge pay cuts. Let's now speak with the former political secretary to the Prime Minister, Tony Blair, John McTurnan. John, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have your company. Has Unite got it wrong, or were they right to bin Angela Rayner?
I think it's a pretty stupid idea of Unite to expel Angela for two reasons. One, she's no longer a member of the union, stopped paying a direct debit earlier this year. And secondly, she's one of the most powerful figures in the Labour government, and she was a supporter of two unions, Unite and Unison. They were close to her, and now she's left. One union has rejected her, spurned her, so that will push her closer to Unison, the union. And so if you want to be influential in the government, in the Labour Party, you're really wrong to push away the deputy leader in this way.
John McTernan, is this the union actually not really caring about Angela Rayner? They're trying to flex their muscles. They're trying to say, if you don't stay with us on this, we're going to withhold money. It's a lot of money, John McTernan. £554,000 were donated by Unite to the Labour Party coffers last year. Are they threatened to withdraw the Wonga?
Well, look, the thing is that what do the members of Unite get from the political donations? Well, they've got the nationalisation of the railways, they've got workers' rights, they've got renters' rights, they've got £100 billion being spent on infrastructure, they've got £40 billion being spent on public services. They've had a pretty good bargain for their money for that donation. The union movement, all union members, all workers have had a good government. And if Unite decide to threaten the Labour Party, what are they doing it for? They're doing it because they want the Labour Party to intervene in a dispute. They wouldn't like it if Labour intervened, if they had a dispute with JLR, Jaguar Land Rover. They wouldn't like it if Labour intervened in a dispute between Unite and Rolls-Royce. They're just saying because it's a local government employer that Labour should intervene. Labour, as government, doesn't back employers, it doesn't back employees, it stands between them. It's for the union to do a deal on behalf of its members and on behalf of the citizens of Birmingham. So it's wrong to try to blackmail the Labour Party to get involved in a dispute. That's a local matter in Birmingham, nothing to do with the deputy leader.
John McTernan, is this another example of the hard left, if you like, trying to flex its muscles? Your former boss, Tony Blair, did a pretty good job of keeping them in their box. Wasn't always the case. Do Unite, do the unions sniff potential weakness, do you think, with Sir Keir Starmer? He's already buckled to his backbenchers on pay rises. He's buckled to his backbenchers on the winter fuel allowance and on welfare benefits. Is this unions trying to take on the Prime Minister?
This is more like a hissy fit, isn't it? It's like stamping their feet and crying in the corner, going, oh, no, it's not fair. You won't intervene and sort out our pay dispute. So it's a temper tantrum. And, what we do with toddlers who have temper tantrum? You don't pay them attention.
OK, well, it actually is the opportunity here, like your old boss did, Tony Blair, to not to just not give them any attention, but to take them on and to say, no, get away. If you're going to be like this, we don't want you. And actually take a stand against unions. Does Keir Starmer have the guts to do that battle? Well, Angela's done, hasn't she, in the famous phrase, Angela's done some conscious decoupling from Unite already earlier this year. And I think we're all happy to watch Birmingham City Council win their dispute with their workers. And do you think critics from the outside might say, oh, here we go. John, you and I are old enough to remember the 1970s when the bin bags piled up, the unions tried to bring the country to its knees. Are the unions on a power flex here? Is it the bad old days of the 70s coming back to haunt us? No, it's not the bad old days of the 70s. Look at the numbers of strike days in the 70s. There's nothing like that happened for the last 20, 30 years. All this is a little local dispute being flammed up, and you can get, you can make a headline in any newspaper, any radio station, any TV station by saying one of two things. One, this is about Nigel Farage, or two, this is about Angela Rayner. So if you can't do option one, they've made it option two, trying to get Angela involved. Because, if you want to get your story talked about, you'll talk about the most charismatic politician in the country. I don't think it's about making a headline out of Angela Rayner. It's the union, as you said, that's chose to make an example of her. The union started this, not GB News. No, I said, no, I'm saying the union are using you. I'm not saying you started. I'm saying that the union knows that if you put Angela's name in a story, it gets coverage. Okay. Nobody wants to talk about Unite. They do want to talk about Angela, just like nobody wants to talk about an issue, but they'll talk about, all of us will talk about Nigel. All right, got it. John McTernan, thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful Friday afternoon. Pleasure to have your company. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, GB News has approached Angela Rayner's office for comment, with a spokesperson for Number 10 telling GB News this: our priority are Birmingham residents. So there we have it. There's still plenty more time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. And here's all the details that you need for a chance to make it all yours.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Still to come next, another bombshell exclusive from Charlie Peters on the grooming gangs scandal, the rape gangs. You'll not want to miss it. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. It's approaching 4:26. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, police officers incorrectly produced a custody sheet for an arrest that never happened. That's according to the father of a rape gang victim. And Jack, and that's not his real name, said that he was arrested twice in 2005 when trying to rescue his daughter from an abuse den in Rotherham. But the police custody record seen by GB News lists his address as a property that he did not even live in until 2020. 2010. And Jack exclusively told our national reporter Charlie Peters that he believes this was an error made by the police as they retrospectively produced the custody sheet. Well, GBNews national reporter Charlie Peters joins me now. Charlie, another sensational exclusive on the rape gangs from you. Please tell us more.
Well, Martin, Jack, this father, he was part of the Independent Office for Police Conduct's Operation Linden. It was a 7-year investigation by the IOPC assessing hundreds of allegations of misconduct by South Yorkshire Police in Rotherham during that abuse gangs scandal. But Jack's complaint, which was that he was arrested outside an address where his daughter Elizabeth was being kept for 10 weeks, that complaint was not upheld. However, 20 years later, we are able to reveal his claims, having looked at a custody sheet, which he says was fraudulently or incorrectly retrospectively edited to discredit his claim, because the address on the custody sheet is for a property that he did not live in until 5 years after the event. Here's an interview he gave me earlier in Rotherham.
With his daughter Elizabeth kept in an abuse den for weeks and the police failing to act, Jack took matters into his own hands.
After keep informing them, it must have been hundreds of times, I just had enough. I went over to the flat, kicking off, swearing outside, shouting that I were coming in flat. Next minute, there were a police car pulled up, 2 police officers, arrested me. They pulled up on the street where I lived, told me I would de-arrested, get in house and don't go back to the flat. So I did, I went back in house, but by then things were going round in my head, I'd lost it, kicking doors, shouting. I noticed as I turned round that there's a police van there, 2 men and a woman, put cuffs on me, said I were arrested, took me down to the police station.
But Jack says he was never booked in at the station. Instead, they held him there for a few hours before releasing him and telling him not to go back. This was 2005. Years later, when the Rotherham grooming gang scandal was exposed, Jack and his daughter made complaints about the incident to the Independent Office for Police Conduct. But when his complaint was dismissed, the police force's lawyers released a custody sheet alleging that he was arrested in 2005 for being drunk and disorderly at a different location. Jack claims that this account is false and that the custody sheet contains several errors.
They've got me down at an address I didn't live at until 5 years later, which had been 2010. They've also got me down at age 58. Well, I'm only in my early 60s now, so that'd have made this all happened 4 years ago, when in actual fact, date on this sheet is 2005.
Have you ever been arrested for being drunk and disorderly?
I was arrested once, day before my 18th birthday, for underage drinking.
But not in the 21st century?
No. No, it weren't, no.
What's your explanation for why this has happened then?
It's to stop me proving that I was arrested twice.
Jack now believes that the custody sheet was written retrospectively to cover up his arrests outside the abuse den. If it was written in 2005, the force would not have recorded his address from 2010.
Why do you think they arrested you in 2005 instead of rescuing your daughter?
Because they didn't want it to go public. As we all know about Rotherham, not just Rotherham, everywhere. Right? We were told we was the only family going through this. We reported it over 200 times, right, over months. We were told, well, it's you and your wife's bad parenting, because it's only happening to you. If these police officers are still in police force now, obviously they've moved up to higher positions and they're lying and making things up to cover what they've done. And it's wrong. As far as I'm concerned, they're in the same bed as the perpetrators, because that's what they are. They're still aiding and abetting these people after 25 years.
This family is still waiting for justice, but now they fear that it might never be delivered. Charlie Peters, GB News, Rotherham.
Well, Martin, as I said, there were hundreds of allegations of misconduct investigated by the IOPC during that 7-year investigation. Just 47 officers were investigated from that. 5 faced any penalty. The harshest one was a written warning. Some of the allegations that were upheld are truly sickening from the Rotherham period and the policing failures. But this complaint was not upheld, that Jack was arrested outside that den where he tried to rescue his daughter. And you heard him say there that the police officers treated him and his wife with contempt, saying that they were bad parents. Well, Martin and I can say they were anything but. And speaking to Elizabeth, she says what so many other victims have across the country of these abuse gangs, that their parents did everything they possibly could to save them, and it was the authorities who put them down. I think this country, Martin, has a bit of a myth about these parents and these girls, that they all came from broken homes or that they were in care. That's absolutely not the case for Elizabeth and thousands of other victims who tried to get justice, but it just wasn't delivered. Now, Martin, on this case about this false custody sheet, there could be a legitimate reason for that issue, although one hasn't been provided to us, and we gave 2 organisations over 48 hours to reply to us on this issue. And first, we do have a statement from the Independent Office of Police Conduct, where a spokesperson said that in June we received a voluntary complaints referral from South Yorkshire Police, which included an allegation relating to concerns regarding a custody record of a family member. After assessing the matter, we decided that this complaint should be returned to the force for SYP to deal with the complaint as it deems reasonable and proportionate, noting that the allegation was similar to a previous complaint made by the complainant that had already been through the complaints process. Now, on that, you heard him say that this complaint had already been assessed. That's regarding Jack being arrested outside the house. Speaking earlier to the IOPC press office, they confirmed to me that actually this complaint relates to a connected but separate matter. It is, of course, about that supposedly falsified custody sheet. I do also have a statement from a spokesperson for South Yorkshire Police. They said that a complaint relating to a custody log was made to the force, and we voluntarily referred this to the IOPC. They have since reviewed the complaint and subsequently determined that this is a matter for the force to manage. We have since determined that the matter should be investigated, and that investigation is now underway. And of course, the complainant has been notified of that decision. So, Martin, here's the situation. We don't know precisely why that custody log is false, but we do know that South Yorkshire Police will be investigating. That has attracted some concern from the family because, of course, they say we're asking the force to investigate itself.
Charlie Peters, another fantastic exclusive, and it's so important to highlight the collateral damage caused onto families. You know, the devastation that so many of them must have been through. Charlie, as I've got you here, could I get your opinion for what the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, told GB News earlier on? She spoke to us and she told us that nearly 1,000 closed cold grooming gang cases have been reopened. Let's take a little look.
Alongside the national inquiry that we set out as in response to the Louise Casey's review, crucially, we've also got these police cases being reopened because, frankly, when you're faced with these appalling crimes, the most important thing is to get the perpetrators behind bars. So it's those police investigations that I really want to see taken forward.
Well, Martin, that was Yvette Cooper responding to a question from Christopher Hope, our political editor, this morning. And it does appear to be a new line from the Home Secretary because last month they said that 800 cold cases where no further action had been taken were being reopened. We know thousands of these cases have taken place without sufficient investigation. And earlier this month, Greater Manchester Police said that 1,000 suspects in that area alone had been identified. So a new update from the Home Secretary given to GB News this morning. I have chased up with the Home Office this morning asking for some clarification on those 1,000 figures. Yet to hear back from them, but it does appear to be a new update from the Home Secretary. The key question, Martin, I think is, will those police forces involved in those no further action claims going to be asked to reopen them, or will the National Crime Agency, as part of this new national effort that the Home Secretary also announced, will they be taking the lead?
Well, John Peters, quite a journey the Home Secretary has been on for not wanting a rape gang inquiry to reopening 1,000 cold cases. Johnny Peters, excellent as ever. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. And lots more still to come between now and 5 o'clock, including I'll be speaking to a Superman superfan as the new Clark Kent film has become under fire. It's been called Super Woke. But first, here's your latest news headlines with Sophia Hill.
Good afternoon. The headlines just after 4:30. The Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France on Thursday is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. The government is urging GPs to issue fewer sick notes and instead direct patients towards gyms and support services to help more people return to work. US President Donald Trump is on his way to Central Texas to survey the damage from the July 4th flash floods that killed at least 120 people and left dozens more missing. The UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The Office for National Statistics said the economy contracted by 0.1%. And a hosepipe ban is coming into force today in Yorkshire and Sussex as the third heatwave of the summer grips the country. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's sunny and hot out there for the vast majority, a little bit cooler on the east coast. It's here where there could be some low cloud appearing overnight. Otherwise, high pressure remains in charge. That high pressure sitting in the North Sea, maintaining sunny skies across the vast majority of the country and maintaining hot conditions for many, even as we go into the evening, temperatures remaining in the high 20s, low 30s in places. And after dark, despite the clear skies, temperatures aren't going to fall very far at all. Widely the mid to high teens and in some spots 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And we do have some mist and low cloud returning to the east of the UK. Patchy in nature, but it'll be around first thing on Saturday. So not entirely sunny everywhere. I think for some of these eastern parts of Scotland, Shetland, eastern England as well, it will be grey skies first thing, some mist around. Further west, plenty of sunshine from the word go. Scotland, Northern Ireland, soon warming up, likely to be the warmest day of the year so far in these areas. Likewise for Western England, Wales, temperatures already from dawn, we're talking about 20, 21 Celsius, rapidly rising through the morning. And we do see that low cloud and the mist in the east retreat back to the beaches. So for the vast majority inland, it's going to be clear skies. It will linger, though, for some of these coastal locations, keeping things cooler. And we do, of course, have this easterly airflow. So for the likes of East Anglia in the southeast, it's not as hot as previous heat waves, but with temperatures peaking further west at 33 or 34 Celsius, it will be hotter compared with previous heat waves. And for Scotland and Northern Ireland, the potential for 29, 30 Celsius, even 31 or 32 for parts of northern Scotland. It's remarkably hot for these locations. It then changes into next week, further showers to come and a drop in temperatures.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. A road incident on the M62 westbound has closed one lane between junctions 24 and 23 near Kirklees, with 40-minute delays expected until after 6:15. On the A303 eastbound at the junction with the A36 in Wiltshire, an incident has closed one lane. Normal traffic is expected soon after 6:15. In Derbyshire, the A38 northbound is fully closed between the A610 and the A61 due to a collision, halting all traffic. Conditions should improve by 8 tonight, and on the trains, significant disruptions are reported between Wolverhampton and Birmingham International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back. Your time is 4:41. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, earlier this year, we had all the outrage about Snow White becoming woke. She wasn't even white, and there weren't even any dwarves in it. Well, now the latest classic falling victim is Superman. Fox News blasted it for having pro-immigrant themes. So, is it really Superman, or is it super woke? Well, I'm joined now by a Superman superfan, a content creator and collector, Tasmin Humphries. Tasmin, welcome to the show. Looking resplendent there in your Superman top. Is this a storm? Is it a storm in a teacup, or do critics have a point? They were saying here Superman is an immigrant who came from other places. The Man of Steel story is the ultimate example of a refugee who makes his new home better. Really, do we need that sort of nonsense in Superman films, or should we just enjoy the action?
Well, I think that in the film, having seen it, there's no sort of mention of him. It doesn't specifically say that he's an immigrant. I think that's sort of come from an interview with the director where he mentioned that word. Yeah. I think the film pretty much follows the story of Superman, and like I said, he is sent from another planet to get a better life elsewhere, but it's not specifically mentioned. So this film kind of just shows the origin of Superman, and I don't think it's particularly woke in any way. I think you're exactly right. The film itself doesn't touch these topics, but you're right. It is interviews with directors that's been given at the screenings of them and the pre-publicity, of course. But it has sparked a huge backlash. And the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement, have produced this. I think we get some footage now of Donald Trump as Superman. They see him as the true superhero to save America from super woke. Yeah, I saw that. Did you like it? I won't go into politics. I don't really follow politics overseas as such. But no, I don't think anyone can sort of compare to themselves to be Superman in that way. Do you think people, though, have a point when they just want to go and watch a movie and they don't want to have sort of, geopolitics rammed down their throats? There is a scene in the movie, I understand, where Clark Kent talks about geopolitics and the fact he could have prevented a war. And is it just not the place? People want to escape from this stuff when they go and see a movie. Well, I think trying to escape something like that when you're watching a superhero film is quite hard, because when you read in the comics and everything that these things are based on, this all ties in. There's a lot of questions in comics as to saying, why doesn't Superman stop the war and stuff? So I think this kind of explores those things that the fans are asking. So for me, I think it's quite poignant for it to make it into the film and for it to be a part of it. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's just part of the superhero culture. They're there to save lives, to save people. And Tasmin, a lot of people are maybe on the other side of the fence saying it's just a movie. Stop getting so wound up about everything being woke. And is that the problem these days? From your perspective, people just want to get angry about anything. There are many times where that seems like the case. Yeah, like you said, this is, you can go into those themes if you really dig deep into things like that. But at the end of the day, this is a superhero film. It's made for families to enjoy. It's not necessarily propaganda being shoved down people's throats. I think people are thinking into it a little bit too hard. Well, thanks for joining us. I really do appreciate your time there. Tasmin Humphries, Superman super fan. Thank you very, very much for joining us indeed. She's very diplomatic, wasn't she? But a lot of people did get very cross about Superman being super woke. I kind of agree. Anyway, if you've in search of some holiday sun this year, then here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst the UK will experience Mediterranean-like temperatures on Saturday, it's not going to be quite as hot through the Mediterranean as it has been recently. For the Canaries and for Madeira, fairly typical conditions for the time of year. Breezy, partly cloudy, otherwise fine. But we've got this area of thunderstorms developing across northern Spain, the Pyrenees, Andorra, southern France. They could be quite lively. And for Italy, for Greece, sunny spells. Not quite as hot, but it is going to heat up into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Good afternoon, Britain. A cheerful lollipop man's signature high fives have been stopped in their tracks.
Oh dear. Well, Neil Cotton, believed by local children... sorry. I'll start that all over again. This is a chap called Neil Cotton, and he's beloved by local kids in Howden, East Yorkshire. And he's been told by the council to stop the friendly high-fiving gesture, all in the name of health and safety.
But many parents and motorists are calling it nonsense. No surprises there. So apparently this chap, 57 years old, he spent the last 2 years brightening up the school run in the East Yorkshire town of Howden. There he is, looks like a nice guy, doesn't he? He has a cheerful attitude. He has his signature high fives. The children love it, the parents love it, he loves it. But no, the council says, get on with your job and stop the high fives.
I think it's the one area of employment where the council's trying to chivvy people on and get them to work harder rather than less hard. But I mean, what have we done in this country where we've sort of abandoned our sense of whimsy? I think adding a sense of whimsy to all jobs, I think, is a fundamental productivity measure, actually. I think if you're enjoying what you're doing, you're going to be doing it better. People are going to go into school or away from school with a smile on their face. What a joyful thing in a town in Yorkshire. I mean, amazing, brilliant. And yet, no, of course, the clipboards have to come out and the dour library monitor style individuals. I bet they're all library monitors at school. They've just got to tell people that they can't have fun.
Yeah, so the children have to be shooied along. They can't be distracted by such frivolities as a high five.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion, Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
Welcome back. Your time is 4:49. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, Canadian tourists may have stumbled across the UK's strangest ever souvenir, a unicorn skull, found near Tintagel, the legendary site, of course, of King Arthur's castle. The bizarre bone has baffled locals. Is it ancient magic, or is it a modern-day prank? Is the unicorn a unicorn? Either way, it's ended up, of course, in a Wiltshire pub. Well, the Sun reporter Alex West reported on this. Let's take a wee listen.
It is quite extraordinary. It looks like a horse's head. It looks, a genuine article. However, I do wonder whether or not it has been, in fact, glued on in places to the bone. But if it has been, they've done an incredibly good job, and it would be a very elaborate hoax. So the working theories are that this is either some sort of freak animal, like a cow or a large goat or something that has grown a single horn. But that looks unlikely because it does look like a horse's head. Or it is an elaborate hoax by somebody who's created this and then left it on purpose to be found. Or potentially it is actually a unicorn skull.
Well, the Sun's intrepid reporter Alex West joins me now. Alex, welcome to the show. I've got to say, I absolutely love this story. You had your hands on that skull. In your opinion, is it a unicorn or is it a unicorn?
I would love to believe it's a unicorn. If it was, I think I'd have stumbled upon the biggest story of the century. But you know, it would be too good to be true. I've spoken to a lot of people about it, and they say I believe, and I want to believe that it's a unicorn. But having a good look at it, it does look like it might be hoaxed. It's clearly a large head. I've been trying to get an archaeozoologist to have a look at the bone to confirm what it is. It looks to me like a horse, and then with this great tusk fused out of the middle. What's amazing is that they've gone to a real elaborate job, and you can see in the picture there that the bone actually comes up in the middle of the skull to meet the bone. Now you wouldn't normally have that sort of protrusion up in the middle. So whether they've sort of made it with epoxy resin or what, I don't know. But I mean, look, it's a great story, great fun story. This Canadian guy, he thought it was a unicorn. He wanted to believe it was a unicorn. He picked it up. Couldn't believe his luck. He took it to a museum of witchcraft and magic in Boscastle, and they were very dubious there. And they said, "No, this isn't magic. This isn't magic. This is a freak animal." So he said, "Well, do you want it?" And they wouldn't even take it off him. So he was on his way back to the airport, and on the way stopped at Stonehenge to have a look at that. Went into the local pub there, and then traded it in for a few beers with the landlord of the pub there. So there it is now. We've been to see it, and we're just asking the question, really, what is this thing? I wonder whether the person, if it is a hoax, whether the person who's created it will come out and tell us about it, or is it a cow with one horn that has been, its remains have been left there? Who knows? And that's the mystery, and that's the lovely thing about the story.
Alex West, it has a happy ending as well because he let them keep it at the Stonehenge Inn. Pardon my French, he gave them the horn, as it were, and they're going to display it behind the bar. And we're going to try and get the boys on from the boozer next week. They're going to put it above the bar, and I'll tell you what, after 4 or 5 pints, you might see several unicorn.
Brilliant.
Okay, Alex West, look at this. There's another unicorn. That, by the way, is real. That's a real unicorn. The one that you had, Alex West, sadly isn't, but I can confirm on our screens now, a real... Oh, no, it's a dog with a party hat. Look, it's about as plausible, Alex West, as the real thing there.
You didn't think it was silly season yet, did you? You didn't think we got there yet. We've got, don't worry, plenty of more fun like that, sharks and whatnot in the sun, so keep moving.
Alex West, it's a fantastic article, really, really great talking point. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Please come back, always a pleasure. Now, coming up, a bonfire labelled as racist has been set alight. It's burning a dinghy full of immigrant dummies. I'll be joined by a man next who thinks that is free expression. You're with me, Martin Daubney, on GB News.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's sunny and hot out there for the vast majority, a little bit cooler on the east coast, and it's here where there could be some low cloud appearing overnight. Otherwise, high pressure remains in charge. That high pressure sitting in the North Sea, maintaining sunny skies across the vast majority of the country and maintaining hot conditions for many, even as we go into the evening, temperatures remaining in the high 20s, low 30s in places. And after dark, despite the clear skies, temperatures aren't going to fall very far at all. Widely the mid to high teens and in some spots 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And we do have some mist and low cloud returning to the east of the UK. Patchy in nature, but it'll be around first thing on Saturday. So not entirely sunny everywhere. I think for some of these eastern parts of Scotland, Shetland, eastern England as well, it will be grey skies first thing, some mist around. Further west, plenty of sunshine from the word go. Scotland, Northern Ireland, soon warming up, likely to be the warmest day of the year so far in these areas. Likewise for Western England, Wales, temperatures already from dawn, we're talking about 20, 21 Celsius, rapidly rising through the morning. And we do see that low cloud and the mist
in the east retreat back to the beaches. So for the vast majority inland, it's going to be clear skies. It will linger, though, for some of these coastal locations, keeping things cooler. And we do, of course, have this easterly airflow. So for the likes of East Anglia in the southeast, it's not as hot as previous heat waves, but with temperatures peaking further west at 33 or 34 Celsius, it will be hotter compared with previous heat waves. And for Scotland and Northern Ireland, the potential for 29, 30 Celsius, even 31 or 32 for parts of northern Scotland. It's remarkably hot for these locations. It then changes into next week, further showers to come and a drop in temperatures.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M4 westbound from Junction 22 at Pilning and Prince of Wales Bridge to Junction 26 at Malpass is congested today. In Derbyshire, the A38 northbound between the junctions with the A610 and A61 at Alfreton is shut due to a collision, expected to clear by 8:30 this evening. In Portsmouth, the A27 westbound from the A3M to the junction with the M275 is congested, causing a 20-minute delay. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast disruptions impact travel between Wolverhampton and Birmingham International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
A very, very good afternoon to you on this beautiful Friday afternoon. It's 5 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News. We're broadcasting for you live from the heart of Westminster and all across the UK. On today's show, the Unite Union has sensationally binned Angela Rayner, accusing her of backing Birmingham Council and not its workers in the city's long-winded bin strike. And now Unite, and that's Labour's biggest union donor to the tune of £554,000 last year, is threatening to defund Labour if they sack any workers. Is this the same old Labour Party and the same old union rubbish? And Emmanuel Macron has blamed Brexit. Nigel Farage has slammed Keir Starmer's one-in, one-out deal as a humiliation for Brexit Britain. And still, it might get sunk by Brussels. And a racist bonfire in Northern Ireland was set fire to last night, burning a dinghy full of illegal immigrants dummies. Well, local police are investigating it as a hate crime, but on today's show, I'll be joined by an Ulster activist who calls it legitimate political expression, while opponents have slammed it as vile, inhuman, and of course, racist. Now, it's just hours now until Oasis takes the stage in Manchester after a lengthy 16-year absence. Now, some might say our reporter Sophie Reaper has the best job in the world because she's there live, and we'll join her from Heaton Park for the great brotherly Mancunian comeback. Can a bonfire be racist? Is the sort of thing that might have been just a parody a few years ago, but today it's reality. Last night at 11 p.m. on the outskirts of Belfast, a pyre was burned. To top that was a dinghy with effigies inside of asylum seekers. The police are calling it a hate crime. No such hate crime was investigated when effigies were set fire to of Donald Trump, of Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss. You get the picture. Is this just yet more selective outrage from the Liberal left, or is this a genuine hate crime that stokes racism and sets the fire of divide going? I'll be joined in a short while by an Ulster activist who says this is legitimate political expression. And by the way, if the authorities, if the politicians, if the police in Belfast had listened to locals years ago about their fears about safety for women and children, it might not have come to this. What do you think? Get in touch, the usual ways. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say. But now it's time for your headlines, and here's Sophia Hill.
Martin, thank you. Very good afternoon. It's just gone 5 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Top story, the Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. So Keir Starmer's struck a deal with France in a fresh push to stop the small boats, but it still needs a sign-off from Brussels. President Macron has already taken aim, blaming Brexit for the Channel crisis. Meanwhile, Border Force and the RNLI have been out today in the water with the first boat carrying migrants arriving into Dover this morning. But the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, says under the new agreement, those making the crossing will be detained.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach that looks across the board.
Meanwhile, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp said the deal with France will be no deterrent whatsoever.
Look, I'm afraid this deal is another hopeless gimmick, just like Keir Starmer's pathetic claim a year ago to be smashing the gangs, which has dismally failed because record numbers of illegal immigrants so far this year have crossed the Channel, record ever numbers. This is another gimmick, just like the smash the gangs claim. And the reason for that is that only 50 illegal immigrants per week are going to get sent back to France. And that amounts to only 6% of the illegal arrivals. Now, that means that 94% of illegal arrivals are going to be allowed to stay in the UK.
US President Donald Trump is heading to Texas after catastrophic floods killed at least 121 people. President Trump's expected to meet the victims' families and first responders later today. Torrential rains last week sent surging water down the Guadalupe River, killing dozens. Thousands of responders have spent days combing the debris, but no one's been found alive since the day of the flood. Back in the UK, Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says Unite is crystal clear. It will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers fighting huge pay cuts. A Downing Street spokesman said in response that the government's priority throughout the dispute had always been Birmingham's residents. The UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, down 0.1%, according to the Office for National Statistics, marking the second month of contraction and surprising analysts who had forecast modest growth. The government had made boosting economic growth a key priority, and Chancellor Rachel Reeves said the latest figure was disappointing. The ONS say the fall in economic output was mainly driven by a drop in manufacturing, while retail sales were very weak. And a hosepipe ban's now in force in Yorkshire and Sussex as the country bakes under its third heatwave of the summer. South East Water say the record-breaking demand for drinking water has put significant pressure on supplies, but Yorkshire Water insists it's cut losses by 15%. Break the rules and you could be fined by up to £1,000. It comes as amber heat health alerts are now in place across much of England. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now, but first, let's check in to the markets.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets this afternoon. The pound will buy you $1.350 and €1.155. The price of gold is £2,488.33 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 8,935 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Thank you, Sophia. Dramatic breaking news this afternoon. Angela Rayner, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, has been suspended by the Unite union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. Now, the union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. Now, that could be very expensive. They donate over £500,000 every single year. Now, Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says Unite is crystal clear it will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers, fighting huge pay cuts. Well, let's now speak with my next guest. That's the Labour peer, Lord Steve McCabe. Steve, always a pleasure to have your company. I'll cut straight to the chase. Have Unite done the right thing by throwing Angela Rayner in the bin?
Well, I mean, if I was Angela, I wouldn't be terribly distraught about this. I used to be a Unite member myself many years ago, and I left because I was fed up with the antics of the union. I think Unite is a kind of amorphous mass that has completely lost its way as a trade union. And I think this is just another classic sort of diversionary tactic. They've brought in their top officials into a dispute that could have been settled by local officials in January. They singularly failed to resolve it, and now they're trying to deflect attention from their failures.
So what's their game, Lord Steve McCabe? What are they playing at? Are they basically trying to get the Labour Party to intervene in a local dispute? They can't be doing that.
Well, I mean, as I say, I'd like to know what their game is. When I hear things like the General Secretary's comments, it's as if she thinks she's fighting some kind of, obsessive 19th century capitalist barons. She is fighting the people of Birmingham who are paying their wages in return for a service that they're not getting. And that service, as far as I understand, that dispute could have been resolved. Local officials have told the media that dispute could have been resolved in January, and it was senior figures from Unite who intervened, and they have prolonged the strike. Now, apparently, they've spent over £1 million in strike pay and legal fees to prolong it. What kind of trade union embarks on that kind of action and penalises the local public as a consequence?
Could there be a bigger picture here, as well as the fact that it could be the unions flexing their muscles to try and get the Labour Party to bow to their wind, as it were? They donate a heck of a lot of money. They're the biggest union donor still to the Labour Party. £500,000 was donated last year, considerably the biggest donor. They're threatening to withdraw the money altogether. Is that a realistic prospect? Are they a paper tiger? Or could they even go and back Jeremy Corbyn's new outfit?
Well, I have no doubt that there are some people in the leadership, there are some people in Unite who would much prefer to back a much more left-wing organisation. That's not news. I mean, that's been the case for some time. So I have no doubt there will be some elements who want to do that. In the past, common sense has prevailed. And I mean, it's extremely unlikely. Unite has about 1.2 million members. It's extremely unlikely that 1.2 million members support this kind of thing. In fact, I would think there's an awful lot of Unite members in Birmingham who are Birmingham residents but don't work for the bin service, who are fed up with the rubbish piling up outside their house. So, I think what Sharon Graham should do is two things. One, she should set her sights on dealing with a local dispute at local level and getting it resolved. And two, she should put her own house in order. There's plenty of problems within Unite, and I'm not sure how representative of the 1.2 million members they claim to represent they really are at the moment.
Well, Lord Steve McCabe, let's flip this question the other way around. If they're causing this much trouble, is it time for the Labour Party to chuck Unite in the bin? Good riddance to bad rubbish.
Well, look, I want to work with ordinary, decent trade unionists. Right this minute, the Labour Party is putting the biggest change and improvements in employment rights for about 25 years through the Parliament, the Employment Rights Bill. I want to see people who are working hard for a living protected and looked after and have proper rights. And I want trade unions to play their proper role in relation to that. I personally just find it awful that a union which, has such great historical roots, people like Jack Jones, Transport and General Workers, Amicus, ASTMS, I think it's awful to see it behaving like this. And it's not about Labour wanting to sever its roots with the trade unions. It's about a union like Unite having some respect for its members, for the public who are paying their wages, and actually looking at some of the internal problems that they should be dealing with instead of trying to run the country.
Steve, do you think these people just live in a different world? They're on a different planet. And we have pictures there of garbage piled up, to your armpits. It was like it for 6 weeks. People were chasing bin lorries down the streets in Birmingham. They were rarer than Santa. They were so desperate to get rid of their garbage, and they're playing politics with people's lives and causing a misery. They're completely out of touch.
Well, I think some of these people are completely out of touch. As I say, they seem to have forgotten they're not fighting some rapacious capitalist barons. We're talking about the people of Birmingham who, through their council tax, are paying the bin men's wages. That's the issue. And the reason why people were chasing bin lorries down the street was because the union picketing, which was actually probably illegal, was preventing the other lorries getting out of the depot. If they want to resolve this dispute, look, I recognise that it is a dispute. There are some people who need to be protected. I don't want to see people in work having their wage situation undermined. But I don't think we should be paying for grades that don't make sense and are going to create another financial disaster for the city of Birmingham. It's just illogical. And anyone with any common sense knows that. And most trade union leaders and officials work to resolve disputes. They don't spend over £1 million in trying to prolong them.
Lord Steve McCabe, you speak in absolute common sense. Thank you very much for joining us on this glorious Friday afternoon. Please enjoy the rest of it. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, GBNews has approached Angela Rayner's office for comment, with the spokesperson for Number 10 saying our priority are Birmingham residents. So they're echoing the sentiments of Lord Steve McCabe. Now, moving on, Emmanuel Macron has blamed Brexit for the Channel migrant crisis, as he said the British people had been sold a lie.
I know it's not your case, Prime Minister, but many people in your country explained that Brexit would make it possible to fight more effectively against against illegal immigration, but it's in fact since Brexit that UK has no migratory agreement with the EU. In fact, it creates an incentive to make the crossing the precise opposite what the Brexiters promised.
Well, Emmanuel Macron, like a broken record, attacked the 2016 vote as it emerged that a one-in, one-out deal will initially only see a fraction of illegal arrivals sent back. And, of course, it still needs approval from the European Union. But the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage didn't take kindly to the French president's attacks on Brexit.
Is Brexit Britain? We voted to take back control of our borders, not to accept a deal given to us by a French president. But I think what we're facing here is a national security emergency. Australia stopped it by towing the boats back to Indonesia. We will stop it by leaving the ECHR, by getting the right to deport. That will work. If it doesn't, in the end, we'll take the boats back to France.
Well, despite all this, the Home Secretary Yvette Cooper was optimistic that the new deal will solve the small boats crisis.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach.
Well, this migrant deal marks the end of Emmanuel Macron's state visit to Britain, and for a while that means the breakup of the bromance. But will Sir Keir Starmer miss Emmanuel Macron?
You, Mr. Prime Minister, dear Keir, my friend. Thank you for your words, Mr. Prime Minister, dear Keir. Mr. Prime Minister, you expressed how much important are our links.
So I've got something in my eye. I think it's a bit of garlic. Let's move swiftly onwards and get back to this deal. I'm joined now by the former police border control officer, Chris Hobbs. Chris, welcome to the show. The bromance is over temporarily. Emmanuel Macron has gone back his side of the channel. A lot of Brits might think that's where he belongs. Let's get back to this so-called one-in, one-out deal. Tony Smith, the former border force chief, spoke to him earlier on the show. He called it worse than useless. What's your take?
I've not spent a lot of time studying, to be quite honest, because I've been concerned with Notting Hill Carnival today, strangely enough. But it looks to me as if basically this isn't going to solve the problem. I can remember over 6 years ago going on, dare I mention it, Sky News for an interview on Christmas Day about issues with the boats. So it's a real problem. In terms of what Brexit has done to our border controls, again, I can remember talking to border force officers when the idea of Brexit was mooted, and they were quite in favour of Brexit. But what they were concerned were the possible repercussions for border controls and law and order. And I'm afraid their concerns have come true, which is a handicap when it comes to actually dealing with the problems that we have. One of the issues, for example, we've lost access to the Schengen database, which is absolutely crucial for keeping our borders secure. That's but one example. And even in the good days of the previous government, I don't think, according to Tony Smith, who I saw earlier this morning, he said that we've never actually ever sent anyone back to France at all who came over by the boat. So it's been a crisis that's been with us for a while. Our border controls are still a shambles, and I'm afraid a lot of the officers you see wheeling in these migrants coming on the boats really feel frustrated, disillusioned and demoralised because they feel they're not doing the job that they originally joined to do. They're just acting as a bit of a taxi service. But
yeah,
what the end result is going to be, who knows?
Yeah, Chris Hobbs, like I say, I spoke with Tony Smith and I asked him specifically about, it's often touted by Remainers, before Brexit, we could return as many people as we wanted on the Dublin arrangement. It's actually not true. The Dublin Convention basically made things very difficult, and as you said, the French weren't interested in taking hardly anybody back, if any at all, because fingerprints were sent, information was sent, and the French wouldn't really comply. A few made it back to Germany or to Holland, but Tony Smith said more ended up being sent into mainland Britain from the Republic of Ireland. And Chris Hobbs, when you hear details that are being touted as a victory, such as we might get a 6% returns ratio, well, I put it to you, Chris, on a warm day, on a red flag day, that's 1,000 in. That means 60 get returned. That's not 1 in, 1 out.
No, and also, of course, you have to bear in mind that we have spent, or we've given the French millions and millions of pounds to tighten this up. And I have to say, if the situation was reversed, and the way this country's going, it may well be, but we had hundreds of people leaving our shores to go to France, even though we've got 100,000 less police than the French, I think we would put a stop to it. I don't think the French have been very proactive at all in doing their side of policing on their side of the channel, so we've got this problem. But there are huge issues across our borders. It's not just either the people who are coming by boats. It's something like 80,000 people a year who are coming to this country legally and who aren't going back. Undocumented migrants is, I think, the term that's used. So we've got a problem not just with boats, but across our borders, full stop. And on top of that, we've got a very demoralised border force, almost below that of the Metropolitan Police. And they're leaving in droves. They can recruit, but they can't retain. So you talk to any border force officer, wherever they are, and they are very, very disillusioned with the current situation.
I can imagine, though. And don't forget, this deal still has yet to be approved by European Union member states and the European Commission. I put it to you, Chris Hobbs, Greece, Italy, Cyprus, Malta, they've already said they hate it. I can't see this deal ever getting approved. Chris Hobbs, thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you. Now, there's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize ever. Here's the details you need for a chance to make it all yours, tax-free.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come, it's the parents versus the vegans. I'll be speaking to a nutritionist as parents have accused a vegetarian school that don't even serve meat of putting their children's health at risk. They've had enough of it and they're fighting back. That's next with me, Martin Daubney, on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate
and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Your time is 5:28 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a school in Sheffield is under fire for apparently putting children's health at risk. And this Sharrow school only offers pupils vegetarian meals, including onion rolls, corn grills and margarita pizzas. But there's been pushback because more than 100 parents have signed a petition calling for them to put meat back on the menu. And joining me now to discuss this is the nutritionist Kim Pearson. Kim, welcome to the show. Who on earth do these people think they are? The government's own guideline states clearly, and I quote, schools should provide a portion of meat or poultry on 3 or more days each week, with oily fish once or more every 3 weeks. That's what the government says. This lot have decided to go against government advice. I put it to you, they're fruitcakes.
Well, I believe that choice is very important, and schools shouldn't be dictating whether or not children have access to high quality meat and fish. They can be a valuable source of protein and other vitamins and minerals. And my understanding is that some schools are cutting meat out of school meals in order to cut costs. And this just isn't acceptable. So many school meals are provided by big catering companies, and we can't allow them to prioritise their profits over the health of our children.
And what's interesting here is that the parents are hearing from their own children saying they're getting stomach aches, probably because they're hungry, because they're not really interested. I mean, my daughter, you know, she loves meat, so does my son, and they want to get filled up at school. Kids that are filled up are kids that are going to learn. Kids that have got stomach pains because they're hungry simply aren't learning. So it's not only maybe detrimental to their health, it's not good for learning either.
Absolutely. I mean, meat and fish are high quality proteins, and protein fills people up. It keeps them satisfied. So we want to make sure that children are eating nutrient-dense, whole food meals that provide them with the nourishment that they need to be healthy, physically and mentally. And this is likely to disproportionately impact children in more deprived areas where they're very reliant on school meals to provide the majority of the nutrition that they're getting. So variety and choice really is especially important to these children.
And what's happening here, Kim Pearson, it's astonishing. Kids are coming out of school hungry, and one of the fathers at pickup is saying, other children are saying, will you please buy me some rice and chicken from the shop near school? They don't even want sweets. They're leaving school hungry, and they're going to be going to, like, you know, garbage chicken shops, aren't they? So the point is, it should be a school's duty to make sure that kids get a healthy meal, and this kind of, activism, whatever it is, has no place in British schools.
Absolutely. Well, the foods that you mentioned at the beginning, the things like the pastries you mentioned, the pizzas, these processed foods that schools are providing have very little nutritional value. So the fact that children are asking for the healthier option says an awful lot. And I think that schools should be more proactive in ensuring that the meals they're providing children are based on whole, nutrient-dense ingredients, not the ultra-processed foods like many are currently. So children in the UK at present consume around half of their calories from ultra-processed food. And this is what's driving childhood obesity and the rise in many chronic health conditions. So we really need to be doing more to ensure that schools are providing nutritionally optimal meals for children that they actually want to eat as well.
But I'll tell you what, Kim, back in my day, it was like suet puddings at school. It was like luncheon meat fritters. It was sticky toffee pudding. Well, it was treacle pudding. It was custard. None of the kids were fat. No one was ever fat.
I think it's easy to highlight the options that we ate unhealthy foods growing up, but there was nowhere near the level of processing that there is today. And many children are rejecting healthier options like vegetables because their palate has become accustomed to these highly processed foods that food manufacturers have put a lot of effort into formulating in a way that drives overconsumption. They're hyper palatable, so children's palate becomes attuned to these more highly processed foods, and then they'll start to reject foods like vegetables and the plainer tasting whole foods. So certainly the foods that children eat today are largely processed, whereas, perhaps when you were growing up, it was just a smaller proportion of the foods that you were eating.
Well, everything was cooked. Everything was cooked fresh on site by dinner ladies who we adored. I loved my school dinners back in the day. And look, I don't think children should be forced to have activist diets. And the parents at Sharrow School certainly agree. They've got a major beef with the school. There's that petition on screen. They're pushing back. And I say what, very, very best of luck to them. Thank you very much, nutritionist Kim Pearson, for joining us on this Friday afternoon. Now, plenty more to come throughout the rest of the show, but first, here's your traffic and your travel update. Please stay safe and don't forget to stick with us.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M6 northbound between junctions 26 and 27 has a 1-hour delay in Wigan due to a collision. The A4 232 northbound between the A4 8 interchange and M4 at junction 33 is congested. In South Gloucestershire, a broken down vehicle closes a lane on the M5 southbound at junction 16. The A27 westbound between the A3M and M275 junction is congested, with a 20-minute delay expected to clear early tomorrow. And on the trains, there are disruptions on Avanti West Coast and cross-country routes between Wolverhampton and Birmingham International and Oxford and Banbury. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. The headline just after 5:30. The Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France on Thursday is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. The government is urging GPs to issue fewer sick notes and instead direct patients towards gyms and support services to help more people return to work. US President Donald Trump is on his way to central Texas to survey the damage from the July 4th flash flood that killed at least 120 people and left dozens more missing. The UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The Office for National Statistics said the economy contracted by 0.1%. Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite Union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. And amber heat health alerts have been issued across parts of England as hosepipe bans come into force in various locations amid the third heatwave of the summer. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's sunny and hot out there for the vast majority, a little bit cooler on the east coast, and it's here where there could be some low cloud appearing overnight. Otherwise, high pressure remains in charge. That high pressure sitting in the North Sea, maintaining sunny skies across the vast majority of the country and maintaining hot conditions for many, even as we go into the evening, temperatures remaining in the high 20s, low 30s in places. And after dark, despite the clear skies, temperatures aren't going to fall very far at all. Widely the mid to high teens and in some spots 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And we do have some mist and low cloud returning to the east of the UK. Patchy in nature, but it'll be around first thing on Saturday. So not entirely sunny everywhere. I think for some of these eastern parts of Scotland, Shetland, eastern England as well, it will be grey skies first thing, some mist around. Further west, plenty of sunshine from the word go. Scotland, Northern Ireland, soon warming up, likely to be the warmest day of the year so far in these areas. Likewise for Western England, Wales, temperatures already from dawn, we're talking about 20, 21 Celsius, rapidly rising through the morning. And we do see that low cloud and the mist in the east retreat back to the beaches. So for the vast majority inland, it's going to be clear skies. It will linger, though, for some of these coastal locations, keeping things cooler. And we do, of course, have this easterly airflow. So for the likes of East Anglia in the southeast, it's not as hot as previous heat waves, but with temperatures peaking further west at 33 or 34 Celsius, it will be hotter compared with previous heat waves. And for Scotland and Northern Ireland, the potential for 29, 30 Celsius, even 31 or 32 for parts of northern Scotland. It's remarkably hot for these locations. It then changes into next week, further showers to come and a drop in temperatures.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time's 5:39. You with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a bonfire in Northern Ireland topped with a muddled migrant dinghy and a sign reading "Stop the boats" has been set alight and torched as police investigate the display now. They're calling it a hate crime? Well, let's now speak with the Director of Unionist Voice Policy Studies, and that's Jamie Bryson. Jamie, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have your company. It's fair to say this bonfire has caused an absolute political bonfire. It's caused a huge stink with practically everybody coming out against it. But Jamie Bryson, you've been on the record saying you believe this is legitimate political expression. Tell us more.
Well, I mean, most of the people who are getting very excited about all of this are the same people who were defending Kneecap, who were defending Bob Villan, who were defending effigies of Donald Trump, of Nigel Farage, of Boris Johnson. So it seems effigies in this type of controversial political protest is all fine, so long as it's something that the left and the woke-a-latte and the latte-drinking liberals think is okay. So, look, the guys on this bonfire, it's a contemporary issue, mass illegal immigration with people coming over, thousands of men of fighting age coming over on boats, invading essentially the United Kingdom, is a contemporary issue. And the guys on this bonfire, every year, they combine their cultural celebration with an act of political protest through some form of art. And this year they chose that subject. So I think, one of the big things is the hypocrisy of so many people, because if Donald Trump or Boris Johnson or Nigel Farage was on top of this bonfire, then the same people would be delighted by that. But simply because it's a subject which they like, they want to see mass immigration, they want to see the social cohesion of the United Kingdom and our indigenous British communities broken down. So all of a sudden they're outraged, and I think they need to catch themselves on. But look, it has, number one, exposed the hypocrisy of the woke-a-latte, the Twitter-latte, and the latte-drinking liberals, which is always a good thing. And it's also brought to a UK-wide audience this issue to the fore again about stop the boats, and we do need to stop the boats. So, do you know what? If people's upset about it, my answer to that is, so what? I don't care, and I doubt that the people who put it there will care either.
Jamie Bryson, there has been a huge backlash against it. Let's read a few of them out now. Sinn Féin called it a vile and deplorable act and clearly a hate crime. The Church of Ireland's Archbishop called it racist, threatening and offensive, inhuman and deeply sub-Christian. Amnesty International Northern Ireland got involved, called it vile, dehumanising act that fuels hatred and racism. But I find this comment, Jamie Bryson, fascinating, from the police service of Northern Ireland, who say that they're investigating as a hate incident. Police are here to help those who are or who feel vulnerable, to keep people safe. Jamie Bryson, we've been speaking to people in Northern Ireland and the Republic indeed for many, many months now, and the working class communities there are often telling us they don't feel safe, they feel vulnerable, and they point the finger at uncontrolled illegal immigration. And do you think, Jamie Bryson, this bonfire, this pyre we can see on our screens now, is totemic of the fact they've been ignored for too long?
Absolutely, and just before I deal with that point, you let out a comment there from Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin, who bombed the Le Mans Hotel with a firebomb, murdering people who supported murder and mayhem for 30 years, are now all of a sudden lecturing people on hate crimes. I don't think any unionist, loyalist, or in fact any decent person will be taking lectures of Sinn Féin, the political wing of the IRA. In respect of how people feel about mass illegal immigration, I mean, we've had the London bombings, the Manchester bombings, stabbings, terrorist attacks all across the United Kingdom, and the left, the establishment, all they've done is try and cover that up for the most part. And yet, if they were as exercised about the terrorist attacks carried out by, for the most part, extremist Islamic terrorists in the United Kingdom, if they got as exercised about that and wanted to take to the airwaves as much about that and listen to people's concerns about that as they are in respect of a bit of artistic protest at a bonfire, then maybe the United Kingdom would be a safer place for everybody that lives here.
OK, Jamie Bryson, of course, I'm duty-bound to point out that, of course, Sinn Féin would deny they have anything to do with the IRA. But Jamie Bryson, on a serious point, Jamie, what's been the reaction amongst the locals in the area? We're not hearing much from them. We're hearing from all the offended bodies. We're hearing from political organisations, Amnesty International. What are the locals saying?
I mean, like, the notion that anybody in Magashal cares what Amnesty International have to say. I mean, Amnesty International are the left-wing activist organisation. In Northern Ireland, they are a pro-Irish nationalist organisation. So nobody in any unionist community in Northern Ireland will give a second thought to whatever Amnesty International has to say. Nobody cares. There was a huge turnout at the bonfire by local people in Magashal last night. They clearly support it. They keep coming every year. And look, there can be legitimate questions or debate about taste, about propriety. It's not a crime. I mean, it's just not a crime. And I would point out some of the media in Northern Ireland who probably need to go back and do some legal training to understand when the police talk about they're investigating, treating this as a hate incident, what that actually means is somebody has phoned up and said, we think this is motivated by hate, and they have to record it as a hate incident. The media in Northern Ireland have substituted the word incident for crime as if the police have opened a criminal investigation, and they actually haven't. So somebody has been offended, probably Amnesty International or some nationalist politician has phoned up and said, oh, we think this is motivated by hate, and that's how the police have recorded it. But if we're going to talk about hate crimes, then, I mean, let's go after NECAP. Let's go after Bob Villan, who's still on the streets and hasn't been arrested. You know, let's have equal standards across the board, or not.
OK, Jamie Bryson, fascinating stuff. Thank you for your forthright opinions on the show tonight on GB News. Pleasure to have your company. Now, earlier on in the show, I spoke with the political commentator Matthew Stadlen, and he argues that any effigy burning anybody is a step too far.
Burning effigies of other human beings. Look, there is anger about the number of people who come to this country illegally. Many of them are genuine asylum seekers. Some of them are not. People want things to be done fairly. People, including myself, want us to have borders that actually work. It's been a huge advantage to us over the centuries that we are an island. In this case, it's not proving to be such an advantage, although I can tell you if you're in Europe with land borders, it's certainly no easier. The government is committed to trying to sort this out. The fact that they haven't yet, in my view, shows how difficult it is. You'd like us, I think, to leave the Refugee Convention. You'd like us to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. I'm afraid I don't agree with you on that, because I think they're still important things.
Here's something that well, still to come. Today is going to be the day that Oasis are back performing in the hometown of Manchester.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion. Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
What stresses you out the most?
Oh, stupid people. Yeah, stupid people. Actually, I'm convinced the world is full of stupid people.
Right, OK.
All right, so stupid people.
Why are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me?
I actually wouldn't look at you, mate. You're a smart person. But no, honestly, if you were in my life, particularly when you rely on people to do things for you and they just can't see the obvious thing to do.
Oh, no.
But you have to be very grateful that they are doing things for you.
Yeah, that's...
Ellie, for me, it depends on the mood I'm in. Because if little things happen and I'm not in the right mood, then everything drives me crazy.
Now, that is a very good point. So, micro stresses.
Is that what it is?
But according to the Daily Mail this morning, 89% of Britons are finding the small stresses is exhausting them the most.
Yeah.
Things like being stuck in traffic.
Yes.
Hate that. The bin bag breaking.
I actually don't mind being stuck in traffic.
No, I do.
I
find it...
That's OK.
Great on my soul.
Unless it's late, I'm late for something. Although I was stuck for about 3 hours trying to get home yesterday.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
but you see, I don't think those are micro stresses. I think they're major stresses.
Full-on stresses.
That's what the study says,
So listen, don't pass them off as, it's only just stuck in traffic. That's a major thing.
OK,
yeah.
that's major stress. OK.
Yeah.
It says sometimes it triggers the same exhaustion as a single major life event. If you have lots of these in a day. So bin bag breaking is you taking it out, losing your keys.
That's a major one.
Yeah.
That's major for me.
People who walk slowly, that is so irritating. Forgetting to charge your phone overnight, forgetting to put the bins out. not being able to find an outfit.
You know what I really hate? Really, really grinds my gears?
What?
Is when I either let someone out, and when I'm in the car, I let someone out and they don't say thanks, or I stop and let them cross over and they don't go...
That's irritating.
Then I go...
Well, I tend to agree with you, Paul.
GB News, the People's Channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 to 6. I'm Martin Daubney, and get ready for this.
Where were you while we were getting high? Someday you will find me caught beneath the landslide.
And the boys are back in their hometown. Oasis duo Noel and Liam Gallagher will play at Heaton Park in Manchester this evening in front of a sold-out show. Let's go straight now to our own rock and roll star, GB News reporter Sophie Reaper, live from Heaton Park. Over to you.
Well, Martin, the atmosphere is just continuing to build here outside Heaton Park. The gates opened a couple of hours ago, but there is still a very heavy stream of people making their way in. Cast due on the stage any minute now. Then we'll be seeing Richard Ashcroft, and at 8:15 this evening, the moment that everyone has been waiting for. Noel and Liam Gallagher, those brothers from Manchester, returning to the stage here at Heaton Park for the first time in so many years. This is an event that so many people have been waiting for, and as I say, the atmosphere is just absolutely incredible. We saw them at Cardiff last weekend, but this, it just doesn't compare, Martin. I think for people from Manchester, we've seen people who've travelled from all over the UK, all over the world even today, to be here. But for the people here from Manchester, this is what they have all been waiting for. Now, I'm going to see if we can try and speak to some fans here. But as I say, the crowds are starting to think, because people want to get in there, they want to see what they've paid for. Let's see if we can see anyone with any nice T-shirts on. Excuse me, sir, do you mind if I ask you a quick question for the news? We're on air.
Oh, my God.
There's an accent there. Tell me where you're from, my love.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. And you've come from Puerto Rico for this, or do you live in the UK?
Just for this.
Just for this. So that, I mean, excuse my geography, that's quite a distance. Tell me about that.
Well, we haven't been able to watch Oasis perform for a long time. And there's no distance that's too far to travel for them.
Absolutely not. And to see them, Heaton Park in Manchester, the place that they're from, how are you feeling ahead of it?
Well, we're excited. My wife is very excited.
There she is there, very excited. Come in, wife, come on over. Yeah? Tell me, how excited are you?
Very. This is like once in a lifetime. We've been planning on this for almost a year when we got tickets to come here for Manchester specifically.
And what do you think the atmosphere is going to be like in there? Obviously, you say
it's going to be electric, right? It's going to be nuts.
Indeed.
Have you been walking around town? It's crazy.
Exactly. That's a very good point. In Manchester, Martin, the crowds, they're loving it even there. There's memorabilia everywhere.
Yeah,
everyone's singing.
The shops go all around the corners of the streets.
As you would expect.
Yes.
I mean, you can see me here in my bucket hat, and we love it. Tell me, what song you're most looking forward to seeing tonight?
I mean, for me, it's Don't Look Back in Anger, but...
The Manchester Anthem, as they call it. That is,
I didn't know that.
Oh, that is the most special song. You will have the most amazing time. Thank you so much for talking to us, and what a journey. Enjoy. Thank you so much. There we are, Martin. Incredible scenes here in Manchester, as you would expect.
And Sophie Reaper, not only was that a great report, but you got through the entire day without swearing. Magnificent. Now, next is Jubes & Co, and she is electric.
Oh, Martin, I absolutely love that. I wish I was there. I'll have to just do a little bit of Oasis karaoke in the pub instead. Lots that we need to discuss tonight. Hypocrisy from Rachel Reeves when it comes to GDP drops. What should the Labour Party do next? Also, Unite potentially looking at bidding off the Labour Party and GPs, prescribing weight coaches and gym memberships. I'll see you at 6.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's sunny and hot out there for the vast majority, a little bit cooler on the east coast, and it's here where there could be some local
cloud appearing overnight. Otherwise, high pressure remains in charge. That high pressure sitting in the North Sea, maintaining sunny skies across the vast majority of the country and maintaining hot conditions for many, even as we go into the evening. Temperatures remaining in the high 20s, low 30s in places. And after dark, despite the clear skies, temperatures aren't going to fall very far at all. Widely the mid to high teens, and in some spots 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And we do have some mist and low cloud returning to the east of the UK. Patchy in nature, but it'll be around first thing on Saturday, so not entirely sunny everywhere. I think for some of these eastern parts of Scotland, Shetland, eastern England as well, it will be grey skies first thing, some mist around. Further west, plenty of sunshine from the word go. Scotland, Northern Ireland, soon warming up, likely to be the warmest day of the year so far in these areas. Likewise for Western England, Wales, temperatures already from dawn, we're talking about 20, 21 Celsius, rapidly rising through the morning. And we do see that low cloud and the mist in the east retreat back to the beaches. So for the vast majority inland, it's going to be clear skies. It will linger, though, for some of these coastal locations, keeping things cooler. And we do, of course, have this easterly airflow. So for the